So you're saying the ping pong ball went all the way through?
Mm-hmm. I am. Very much so.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Welcome on out to another episode of ADHGeek. We have MarcTheCyborg in the house.
Woohoo!
Oh, I was muted for puppy growls.
Can we have a puppy?
Yeah, we had, so we got ADHGeek featuring MarcTheCyborg and puppies.
Yeah, I usually come with puppies.
Just imagine that action figure. Just you have Mark and like two different legs you can switch between, and then just one of the puppies.
Lots of my channel art does include the puppies, so they are here often.
But so glad to have you on.
Yeah, good to be here.
I know we were talking about this before we went live here. What kind of puppies are those?
Jojo is a teacup poodle, and Rocky is a chihuahua, a long-haired chihuahua.
Aww.
Jojo.
Which one is the one doing the growling?
Jojo.
Oh, okay.
So the girl who wants me all to herself, and Rocky's he loves her too, so he just wants to be close. But he's a good boy.
Aww. He's just sitting there like, I want pets. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to mute yourself. We're puppy friendly here.
It's for the viewers. Trust me, it's better. and I can usually calm her down in a second or two. So it's really just quick mute, calm her down, and then it's fine.
That's how Charlie and I met. We met in college, and then we just started growling about things.
Yeah,
so what was it? It was
dude friendships in a nutshell, I guess.
Yep. But anyway, yeah, thank you very much for coming on to the show. We really appreciate having you here, and appreciate the puppies, because Charlie doesn't have any dogs. I don't have any dogs. I want to get one, but I don't have any yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a good time. They keep me calm.
Oh yeah. I was actually thinking about getting one, and then one of the shows that we had before, we talked about how gaming can help people who have gone through tough times, and can literally save people's lives. And one of the things, after I actually went into the hospital with congestive heart failure, that was over actually almost 10 years ago now, which is amazing to think about.
Congrats on getting through it.
Thank you. But yeah, my doctors actually said that getting a dog actually might be a good option for me, and I haven't gotten one yet. They're expensive, but I was like, get one and then have it registered as an emotional support animal.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
You don't need to get an expensive dog either. Like, there's even small dogs that you can get pretty cheap. I recommend a small one, especially if, you have a disability just like I have a disability. We both lost a body part that's an important one too, and they're easy to manage. Like, they pretty much just hang out around the house. They're both pee pad trained, so they pee on little sheets of paper, like little diapers that are on the ground. And every so often I go around with some toilet paper and pick up poop and then flush the poop down the toilet. And we have a little diaper genie for the pee pads. And they don't really need to go outside too much. They run around in the house, and because they're small, that gets them enough exercise. So, yeah. And we do still take them on walks, but it's Canadian winter right now.
Oh, yeah.
And they have not a lot of fat on them. Rocky does. He's a chunky boy, but he's a good boy.
So
He's
good.
like, I'm not fat, Dad.
No, he's the thick one. He's the powerhouse. He protects the tiny one.
He is the brute squad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we have a dog that lives downstairs. I'm living in an apartment. The lady downstairs has a dog. She's got a bully. It's a pretty big, boxy looking pit bull.
Nice.
I was looking to get a Staffy, which is more like the American pit bull, because they're so friendly, they're so sweet, they're so cute. But my wife was like, they are naturally strong. They don't understand their strength as a puppy. And she had an experience with a pit bull, with my sister's pit bull, several years ago, and we were living in the third floor apartment, and my sister went to go take her out, and of course she really had to go out. So this dog, not realizing their strength, almost pulled my wife three floors down the stairs.
Oh man.
So
Yeah, that's like again, small dogs like if these ones get unruly, they're just like C-clamp their snout and they're not a problem. It's like fighting a little alligator.
So, no, but how you doing, Shirley? I haven't talked to you in about a week. I know we both have work stuff, but
I have been busier than a cat bearing shit on concrete.
okay, that's the new one we put up.
Yep, I just put that in like a minute ago. But yeah, just working at a TV station is kind of, same shit, different day, but keeps me busy.
Oh yeah. And I'd like to say hi to Nerdy Neo, who is surprised that we are actually starting on time today.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
I was surprised, just as surprised as everybody else.
We did it. No tech issues this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
So far.
Because we got MarcTheCyborg on, you know.
Yeah, I'm a genius.
The tech issues were like, oh god, I'm scared.
Tech issues were like, oh god, how do we squeeze 2 more sources out of this?
So, but anyway, with the gaming news, did you guys hear about that 13-year-old kid?
Yeah, Tetris kid.
Yeah,
that made national news, like international news, as we'll find out.
I could not believe that. I was like, okay, I remember playing that. I was born in 1984. I remember playing that when it was, well, not brand new, but it was much younger than it is now.
Yeah, the Game Boy version was the first one I played.
I remember I played the SNES or the regular Nintendo Entertainment System version, and then this kid beats it at 13. I'm like, I think I got to level 7. And there was no getting past that.
Right. And like we'll see.
I did beat the iPhone Tetris. iPhone Tetris caps you at 150 lines, or at least the first version of it did. And I got to 152 lines because I ended it with the Tetris. So that's like the highest score you can get for that. But basically, I just did it with nothing but Tetrises the entire time. So stacked up 4 things with a line in the middle, and then got your line thing, get the Tetris, and yeah. But it's one where you can kind of like shift the thing as it's landed too, so it's a lot easier than what that kid was doing. That's like legit Tetris.
Oh yeah, he's like going OG. Yeah, I'm lucky if I can ever make it past level 5.
Yeah. That I just could not believe that this kid did it, and especially it's a 13-year-old kid. It's not even.
I thought it ended at level 10. Like, I didn't think it went beyond that. Like the original Tetris. I mean,
we'll see the reaction in a minute, but just the oh my god! Like, I'm just curious, like, what gaming accomplishment elicited that kind of reaction from you? Like, what feat?
I don't have one because like I've never broken a world record. Like that's the thing. Like when people look at that kid's reaction, like, oh my god, he cares so much about this video game. It's like, no, he knows he just did something for the first time ever. He knows
and it was
the
recorded.
First human to ever have done something, and he can prove it. So it's like for a little kid like that, that's huge, man. Like, don't act like it's not an accomplishment. I saw like that article.
Unlike this bitch, yeah. So yeah, if you haven't seen, she's a little less than impressed.
Now, Tetris has long been touted as a video game that just can't be beaten because it just goes on and on.
So we thought.
Well, 13-year-old.
So like that kind of reaction, like for me, like when I was in high school, it clearly wasn't like breaking a world record for a seemingly endless video game, but there was a little indie gem called I Want to Be the Guy, which if you don't really know how to get through it is like face ripping hard. And face ripping hard. And when I finally managed to beat it, I remember I was just kind of done with my work in high school class. I think it was like a Dreamweaver class, and just that feeling came over me. And the teacher's like, "Relax, it's just a game." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a hard game." Anyway,
Old American Willis Gibson has technically proven that wrong. He beat the original Nintendo version of the game by reaching such a high level that the coding froze, I left the program unable to generate any more falling blocks.
Yeah,
As a mother, I would just say step away from the screen, go outside, get some fresh air. Beating Tetris is not a life goal.
Yes, it
Fuck
is.
you.
it is. You
Kid's
dumb-
gonna be in the Guinness Book of World Records for a long time because or probably forever because the most anyone can do is equal it. You know?
And I love how she says, speaking as a mother, it's like, okay, if I have broke a world record and I could prove it, my mother would be ecstatic.
How many world records have your children broke on the playground that they're getting so much work out of? Apparently, and I'm not like advocating it because I often hate when people pit the idea of sitting inside and playing a video game against the idea of going outside and doing anything else, as if a kid doesn't do both anyways.
Mhm.
Because I mean, most kids have video games, and I think arguing there, you're always going to have someone argue against that. Be like, actually, I never let my child have video games. It's like, oh, fantastic. So he's the boring one at school. Then congratulations.
He's the one that goes over to a friend's house to play video games.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily think that that's the best method, but like, I mean, you do need balance because physical activity is important. Kids getting things like vitamin D from the sun is very important, but there's a lot of hours in the day. Like, that's the thing that I don't quite understand about the people who take that stance is like, how long do you think your kids are going to be outside playing per day? Because in the evening, they've got a good chunk of free time. And that's assuming it's not the summer where they have the actual whole day where they need to fill it with something so they can be playing it with toys, playing them with toys inside, being outside playing, sure.
Mhm.
But like, how long are you going to be outside for? Do you want your kids out that long? Are you going to be out with them that whole time? Or are you just advocating, oh, well, I hope he goes over to a friend's house and then they go outside and are supervised there? Like, I think a lot of the parents that take that position aren't really thinking holistically. Like, they're not really thinking of what the whole deal is when it comes to being a kid.
Right.
Not
and we're past
being a
the
parent,
age.
but actually being a kid. It's like, well, you know, like I don't necessarily need to play video games all the time, but it would be cool if I could play them sometimes. And if you start getting really good at the game, I think that maybe skipping a couple days at the playground to break a world record is pretty reasonable. It's like, no, like, Mom, you don't understand. I'm actually doing something that no one has ever done before. Like, I'm one of the best that there's ever been, and people will recognize this as a thing that is good if I do it. And yeah, it may not get me a contract with the NHL, but what are my odds of getting that anyways?
Right. I mean, he's basically, if and I don't know the the legal aspects of this, but like, this kid could be like going to conventions and just like getting all sorts of exposure, and it can lead to how many other different things because he's the one kid who beat Tetris.
Well, and this year, or this past year, I guess 2023, Tetris just had a movie release that was really good about the history of Tetris and the importing of Tetris from Japan or from the Soviet Union, either into Japan through Nintendo or to the US, being published separately with Atari going after it and stuff like that. If you guys have not seen Tetris, it's on Apple Plus with the dude from Kingsman's in it. And it's the same production company as well, Marv, which Matthew Vaughn runs. And yeah, I would recommend it. It's a good movie.
I would really like to see Tetris. I heard about it and I have not seen it. I used to have Apple TV. I actually finally got it back, so I'll probably be watching it.
The character in the movie, the little girl in the movie, was on Side Scrollers a couple months ago. Like Stuttering Craig's podcast, like talking about the Tetris movie, because she is actually the CEO of Tetris now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
that was an
spoilers
interesting
for the
interview.
movie, but yeah, Taron Egerton. Yeah. Good actor, great actor. Matthew Vaughn makes good stuff too. I'm actually quite looking forward to Argyle. You guys seen the trailer for that?
Can't say that I have.
So, okay, the trailer might seem like a bit of a bait and switch at first because you're off the bat. It's a basically Bond movie with Dua Lipa and Henry Cavill, like as the Bond girl in Bond. And then it cuts to, you realize that this is just being written by Bryce Dallas Howard's character, who's like a novelist.
Okay.
But then she ends up in a situation where she gets involved with real spy stuff, and Sam Rockwell's the main guy. So I think like the idea is like, hey, what if these secret agent people were more sort of like average Joe looking people, not like super sexy models, but she writes everything as like the kind of typical Bond thing. And it turns out there's a thing happening with her stories and real espionage, and it's Matthew Vaughn as well, like the same director of Kingsman and Kick-Ass.
I remember I did see that trailer, and it looks really interesting.
We lost him. I got lost earlier, so we can't judge. But yeah, no, I recommend checking out the trailer for Argyle.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember. I think I saw that trailer when I went to see Godzilla -1, and it looked pretty interesting. And also, yeah, just Godzilla -1, so freaking.
I've seen it twice. Yeah, went with X-Ray Girl, and then I took 2 of my buddies who were in town for Christmas, and we had like a boys' night out and got some wings and saw Godzilla -1, and we cried together.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely one that I'm gonna have to pick up on Blu-ray when it comes out.
Yeah. I think it's Valentine's Day, or it's February 10th. I think is the Blu-ray for Godzilla -1.
Awesome.
I might lose my geek card for this, but I have not seen a Godzilla movie since that the American Godzilla movie.
Go see Godzilla -1. Like if it's still playing in your area, seriously, go. You will not regret it. You will walk out of it being like, oh, okay, so they're never making a better Godzilla movie ever. Like that's the peak Godzilla movie. Nothing that's ever been made before it really is better. I mean, so people will like argue, oh, the original Godzilla is the absolute best. It's the one that was original and started. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, after ideas points, but writing wise and characters, yeah, they're not doing better than this for a while, and I don't think America has a chance at doing better.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, and Nerdy Neo is the last one I saw, 2014, the first one of that monster verse that they have now.
But well, I mean, yeah, the current one that's running, where now like King Kong is Thor, or like Thanos or something has like the Infinity Gauntlet on it.
It was the one right before that one that even had Kong on it.
Yeah, Godzilla -1 is pretty much the opposite type of movie as that trailer. Like that's the only way I can describe it, and it's accurate.
Okay, since we're talking about Godzilla, okay, what did you think of the 1998 Matthew Broderick one?
I mean, it's kind of goofy and fun, but it really is not good. Like, I don't think it has a good soundtrack.
Yeah, it's like there's the cheesy Godzilla movies which are fun to watch, like Son of Godzilla, for example, and like the 1998 one, and then there's the good Godzilla movies like -1. And normally I'm the type of person who's like, oh, it's a monster movie, there should just be more monster. While I still felt that a little bit with -1, it's just the human story was just so engrossing and just well executed.
It's always the thing that like I've not been on any of the EFAPs where they've been talking about like the MonsterVerse movies, like the current ones. But their position is often that is anytime people say, well, I mean, I don't really care about the human characters in this movie anyway, so if they suck, it doesn't really matter. I'm just here for the monster action. It's like, but you can have both, though. Like it's like, why give it that pass? Why be like, oh well, whatever. If there's monsters, I'll love it. And it's like, don't give them that. Don't give the writers of these movies that. Don't just say, oh no, just monsters. We don't care about the humans. Minimize the humans, maximize the monsters, and we're happy. It's like, no, why don't you write interesting humans? That's
right. Like
you're professionals. You're professional Hollywood screenwriters.
With -1, it's almost like you could have taken Godzilla out of the movie completely, and it still would have been fantastic.
Yeah. Godzilla could have just been, like any other type of threat with with a similar premise, and I think that it would have been as effective with the same story being told. It's it's a really compelling story about post-war Japan, ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Bryan Cranston did a really good job in the 2014 one. I honestly, that was like one of the times I went in and saw a monster movie, and I thought that the actor should have had more screen time.
Yeah, everyone did. It was it was a little on the disappointing side the way that went down. But it's interesting how that connects to the Matthew Vaughn stuff we were talking about, because Aaron Taylor Johnson was the human character in that, the human lead, and he played Kick-Ass in Matthew Vaughn's Kick-Ass movie.
Yeah.
He was also in The King's Man, but I won't tell you what he does in that.
I haven't seen the second Kick-Ass movie, the one with Jim Carrey, and it wasn't because I didn't want to. It's just I've never had a chance to see it.
It's not very good.
I watched the first one on Netflix, but
Jim Carrey's good in it, so it's entertaining enough to watch, but it's not really. I don't know. The first Kick-Ass is a lot better. The first Kick-Ass is a genuinely great movie. The second one is like a stupid action movie.
Yeah,
but the second Kingsman, I think, which was Matthew Vaughn, he did direct that. I didn't really like too much, but the prequel is very good. The one that takes place during World War One, and that one's just called The King's Man, and I would strongly recommend that one.
Yeah, it was definitely on my list.
Seeing that with
the third one.
Seeing that one with X-Ray Girl was hilarious just because she doesn't really know anything about World War One. So there's a scene where Ray Fiennes and his son, who like the movie is implying that the son might end up being the first Kingsman operative just because he's this soldier, this like Secret Service guy who's really, really good at everything he does. And he's in a car with Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And I'm just like, oh my God. And she's like, what? What's going on? I'm like, the thing, the thing. Yeah, and then like afterwards, she's like, I had no idea what was going on in that whole movie. I was like, oh, like you didn't like how it was like tying into all the real events of World War One, and so she's like, I don't know anything about World War One, so I don't really care. And I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I recommend The Kingsman. It's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, The King's Man, it's one that was on Hulu for a while, and I haven't had a chance to watch it. And then when I went to go watch it a couple of months ago, it had been taken off of Hulu. So it's like now I got to wait for it to go back on one of those streaming services.
Yeah, it might end up being somewhere. But yeah, it's really good. I recommend it.
It is back on Hulu right now, apparently.
Oh, okay. I know what I'm doing later. I don't know if I'll do it today, though.
Yeah. Play some Battlefield 1 and watch The King's Man.
Hell yeah.
Battlefield 1, isn't that like the last good Battlefield game that they made?
I would say so. There's lots of people who did like Battlefield 5, but I thought Battlefield 1 was the last one I actually enjoyed playing. I was like, oh man, I want to actually spend some time in this one. Battlefield 5 I actually did get. I played through one of the war stories and thought it was so lame that I kind of gave it up, and I didn't really click with the multiplayer either. I just I found the World War I game a lot more fun.
I played Battlefield 5. That was actually I enjoyed the story, but then I never touched it again.
The war stories in Battlefield 1 are a lot better. I'd recommend playing those ones again.
Yeah. It was just weird how they went like Battlefield 1, then Battlefield 5. It was like, okay, that's not going to confuse.
Yeah, I mean,
taking the Xbox naming convention.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the first Battlefield game was not called Battlefield. It was called Battlefield 1942. So it's like Battlefield 1 is technically a thing that never happened. So the idea is that, hey, we're going further in the past than we ever were before, and this is the one that we'll call Battlefield 1, because there is Battlefield 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5 now. And there just wasn't a one. There was a Battlefield 1942. So I thought that doing that the one time was okay, but it did sort of throw off the naming convention. It's technically Battlefield 1. I guess you could argue it was 60. And I mean, but that's the thing. Like even the Battlefield naming convention, they're not properly in order for number, because you have 1943 and Battlefield 2042 in there as well. 2042 or 2140? Now I'm forgetting. The new one's 2043 or something, right? Or
something like that.
Yeah.
But there was the other future Battlefield in like around Battlefield 2 that had like mechs and stuff in it. Yeah, so it was 2042. What's the new one then? Battlefield.
I don't think they've named it the new one.
No. It's been out for a year.
They announced that they were working on one.
No. I'm talking about the one that's been out for the last year. I'm talking about one which exists now. Hold on a second. I think I have it on Game Pass. Where's my Xbox app? Do I not have my Xbox app?
And we all absolutely love Game Pass if Microsoft wants to give us a sponsor.
Wait, I got something for this.
That's a big fish to be shooting for, but never know.
Yeah.
And this is where I put a sponsor. If I had
one. I was actually thinking the same thing.
I could plug my wife's sponsor, Ancient Sud Soap. Code X-Ray Girl checkout for 15% off, but I don't personally have one. But her getting a sponsorship is functionally the same as me getting one because we pay the same bills.
Oh, there you go. Still, that's awesome.
So yeah, no, 2042 is the new one, and I think the other one was 2142. like the one that came out around Battlefield 2. I'm talking like 15 years ago, maybe actually probably
Okay.
20. Hold on, I'll figure this out. You guys can keep talking.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out myself. Okay, I've got the wiki
Yeah,
pulled up. The latest one.
Yeah, 2142 was the one that came out in 2006.
Yeah.
And that was full blown future. Like it had mechs and lasers and things.
Yeah, 2042 came out in 2021, and they've been adding expansions ever since.
Yeah. But that's the thing. So that's the thing. But 2142 came out in 2006 after Battlefield 2, but before Battlefield 3. So like, is that Battlefield 3? You know, like it's their naming conventions are weird.
It's a Battlefield.
Like,
Don't worry about it.
with these
Well,
names
honestly,
anymore.
like all they should have done when they did the thing where they have like the platform now, where it's like we're just gonna have it multiplayer and keep it going forever, is they should have just called it Battlefield.
Yeah.
That would have been the move. Just be like Battlefield. It's Battlefield going forward. It's all going to be multiplayer. We don't like doing campaigns anyways, so we're just going to add to one game forever and upgrade the engine over time and do that stuff, because that's
Kinda
what they
like
want to do with
Rockstar
20
does now.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, they don't really update anything for at least Red Dead Redemption, but and I don't think they've changed the engine for because even Grand Theft Auto 6, I believe, is the Rage engine, which is the same engine as GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption.
GTA 6 does look amazing, though. I will give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, but I feel like it's going to be capped at 30 FPS on PS5 and Xbox Series X and not on PC, and that's going to anger me because I feel like, can you give me a version of this game that runs like a video game I want to play now? Because
Not without mods.
Well, no, with mods you'll be able to when it's on PC, but you can't on because it's going to be on console for probably a year or two before it comes out on PC. And that trailer was definitely 30 FPS, and unless they release, with the way that game looks, unless they release pro hardware before GTA 6 comes out, then yeah, it's going to be 30 FPS capped, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And it'll be funny to see all the people who were bitching about Starfield being 30 FPS cap that I guarantee you are going to start simping for. Be like, actually, it's more cinematic this way, because it happens every generation. I swear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, sure. I just want my games to be under 100 gigs. That's all I want.
Yeah, because capacity really isn't a big thing for me. I'm more concerned with the performance. I just want it to run consistently and at 60 or above.
That's fair.
But okay.
No,
There's crazy input lag at 30 FPS. I hate it. Like new games at 30 FPS infuriate me. Like if I'm going back and playing something like Metal Gear Solid, which is capped at 30 FPS, it's a little bit different because it's like, okay, that's all this game ever was. But when it's a brand new game, they're like, well, the good news is we're going to make it amazing. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to look more stunning than you've ever seen before. It's going to run like shit, but it's going to look really, really nice. And I was like, can we make it look a little less nice and have it run well? That's what I want to play.
If it came to the extremes, I'd rather it look jank as hell, but perform like a dream.
Oh, well, I mean, did you guys see any of my streams already or not? Or have you seen it?
I've seen
I personally have not. I'm sorry.
Okay, here I'll send you guys a Google Drive link in the chat, and you can just like as we're talking or something, just fire up this footage on silent, and you'll see what an indie game can look like now. So it makes me think that like an indie game that runs well can look like this in 2024. So why are we spending like hundreds of millions of dollars on video games? Like I really just think if we reined in the budgets, they'd make more money, we'd be able to get them cheaper, and they would be better. But here, I'll send you this folder.
FPS over resolution 1000% of the time. That's a Texas size 10.4.
All right,
Texas size 10.4.
Just download pretty much any of the videos in that Google Drive folder and just take a look at how that game looks and understand that that is an indie game.
Mm-hmm.
Did my vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wait, where did you post this? I found it.
Oh, in the private chat. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
But I mean, we can keep talking. Like I'm saying, just like do that in the background. But
yeah.
Back
Sorry, we have
Okay,
ADHD.
I'm gonna
can't
have
do
to check
two
it out
things at
later
once.
because it is just it's just making my browser tank right now, so I'll have to check it out later.
Oh, okay. You can just download
But-
one of those files and then just
Yeah.
watch it when it downloads.
But yeah, I've
But-
heard you talk about it elsewhere, and I think you've showed off clips, and it looks really good.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was Unreal Engine 5.
Yep. It's the best running one I've seen yet, too. As far as UE5 games go.
Nice. But yeah, I know that we kind of started this again with the whole we both have ADHD thing. We started this kind of talking about that kid that beat Tetris. That lady there, I don't know, I know she's from somewhere in London. I'm wondering if this kid had like been the youngest kid to master Mozart, would she be telling him to go outside?
Probably not. Although I think in the Twitter thread that I had pulled up, someone was pointing out that like, oh yeah, she's dunking on the kid who beat Tetris, but she's giving praise to some 16-year-old who's really good at darts.
Really?
Yep.
Well, because that's him doing something in real life.
Because
Not
that
requires
requires
fiddling with
moving
his
the arm
thumbs.
like this instead of like this.
He's
You
not
know?
he's not using his brain at superhuman speeds or anything impressive. It's like, wait, but the Tetris kid he's thinking faster than like anybody.
Well, that Tetris kid also, to make this kind of tragic but even more impressive, he actually just lost his dad last month. I don't know if you guys read that.
Oh man.
No.
Let me see,
I didn't see that part of it, but sorry, kid, if you're
Yeah,
in
he
the event that
actually-
you're seeing this.
Yeah, he actually just lost his dad like on the 16th of December, which is right before Christmas. And he dedicated his win to his dad who died just less than a month ago.
Oh,
And I mean, now she's just sitting there ripping on him like, go outside. Tetris is not a life goal. Well, what 13-year-old should have a fucking life goal at this point, you know?
I mean, he accomplished one, whether she thinks it's a valid one or not. It's like, dude, the kid did a first ever. Did a first ever on planet Earth in 2024. It's nuts. Like, it's absolutely insane. That doesn't usually happen because we're kind of at a point where most people have done all the impressive stuff already.
No,
We've got a lot of things being filmed and logged at all times. Like, things are getting captured, and it's getting a lot hard to do things for the first time before any human ever has.
Yeah, it says that is Willis, and this is actually, I'm pulling this up off of App News. It was another article. I'm sorry, Charlie, I forgot to send this one to you. But anyway, yeah, he managed to trigger the kill screen at level 157, which the gaming world takes as a victory over the game, something along the lines of pushing the software past its limits. Now, and then I said here, yeah, his dad died, according to this, on December 14th, and it's not saying what his dad died of, but his dad died then. I mean, this kid is going through mourning, and this is probably a way that, you know, he at least gets some sort of normalcy, you know, or help him cope with the loss. And then you had some lady like, but again, she's the only one that I've really seen that's been criticizing him in any way.
Yeah, like we actually ran the story at my station, and it was just the more common reaction of like, wow, that is really impressive. I couldn't even get half as far.
Mm-hmm. And the thing, he got so excited he couldn't feel his fingers. Charlie, you asked if there was a game that made us feel like that.
Right.
At any point. I would actually say when I first beat Zeus in God of War 3. That, and then also when I finally beat Atlas in the original BioShock, and it wasn't because he was a good boss battle. I thought, honestly, with BioShock, I thought that last boss battle was kind of shoehorned in. But for me, he was actually pretty difficult, and I was just excited to beat it.
Yeah, I think another one for me was beating Sans and Undertale for the first time, because I would get almost to the end, and then I would just be so worn out from everything else, and that he would just the last attack would always get me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me, I think, weeks of just trying to get it. And when I finally did, it just kind of elicited the same of like, and all of the endorphins just hit it once.
Mm. Because I remember when I finally beat Atlas, because for me, he was a pretty difficult boss battle. But I remember when I finally beat him, I was just sitting there like, yes, yes, yeah, you know. And that was actually the time Rachel and I had just recently started dating. I think I can't remember if I had moved in with her at that point. But we had just started dating and she was at work and remember she got home and I was like, by the way, if you get a noise complaint, I'm sorry. Because I was so excited to finally beat it. Oh yeah, Nerdy Neo says he didn't hear about his death. Yeah, and I'm like, in this she's like, and as a mother, I just want to say, it's like, as a mother, you should know he lost his father and you should shut the hell up. You know?
Yeah, like if I had accomplished that, my mother would probably be like, she definitely would not be like, oh, go outside now.
Mm. Well, do you remember? I'm gonna see if I can find this. Do you remember back? I want to say it was the Super Nintendo days when there was a Jurassic Park. I want to say it was the Lost World Jurassic Park game, and if you beat the game, Jeff Goldblum actually came on to congratulate you and then told you to go outside.
Oh, geez. See if I can pull that up.
Well, I mean, like that's kind of funny. It's yeah. I feel like that probably wasn't in what would be the word for it? Malice.
No, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, kind of like.
Okay, I have actually. Then I'm going to mute and I added it to the studio. Oh,
here we go.
You know what? I need to. Oh, I'm not going to be able to hear. I just realized I'm going to be echoing if I say this, so I'm just going to play the video. And It's probably my finger shaking boss fight. Let's go to right here. This is Slave Knight Gale from Dark Souls 3. I killed him with a dagger.
Oh, wow, yeah. Is that the final boss?
Nope, DLC.
Oh.
It's basically Guts from Berserk.
Oh my god. Yeah, and again, props to anybody who can get through any of this stuff, because like the best I could do is I made it through Bloodborne, but I got the bad ending.
Wow.
We don't have to watch the whole fight, but
that's
that was my finger shaking moment.
Yep, and I found this here.
Oh, did you find the Jurassic World ending?
Yep.
All right.
How's it? Is this on? Can you hear me? It's on. Hello. If you can hear me, congratulations. Way to go. Way to go. You made it through. You spent all that time, and now you're done. You did it. That's quite an achievement. My gosh, you looked a 20-foot carnivore right in the eye, and you've lived to tell about it. Well, you are something. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with it, for not giving up. That is really something. Now you know what you should do? Turn the thing off, for heaven's sakes, and go outside. You know, breathe the air, take a walk, call a member of the opposite sex. You know what I'm talking about. You know, you have a whole life out there. Get the stink blown off you. Just go, really. Turn off. You. I mean, really. What was that? Hello. Okay, I go.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a cheeky kind of joke ending like that.
Yeah.
It would have made me chuckle if I had seen it back in the day, but like I think that's a little bit different than being on a newscast watching a kid do something incredible and be like, yeah, but maybe you should spend more time outside. You spend too much time with that video game that you just broke world record in.
Right.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in it. That's why I broke a world record in it, lady. How many world records have you broken?
Exactly. Well, no, wait, I have something for this as well.
Stupid
stupid evolved prick! What do you even do?
I love those things.
Achievement if you're the best in the world at it.
Right.
Well, yeah, and as of right now, he is. Well, I have heard that ever since he broke it, I guess 2 other people have done it too. But it's like, you know
It
what?
doesn't matter if you're not the first.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
You are now going to be known as the second and third people to do it, you know?
I mean, or if they're known at all, because that's the kind of accomplishment that after someone's done it, it's like all you can ever do is equal it. So you can never prove that you're better than it. He did something that is improvable or impossible to prove that you've exceeded. You know, like you can't go beyond the level that he hit in that video game, and it's something that no one had ever done before he did it. So
the only thing that could possibly top it is if they could do it faster, but with Tetris, I don't feel like he could do it faster.
I mean,
really good.
You can if you're getting more, but like I think at a certain point, it's random almost.
Yeah,
it's like, well, like you're really just dropping the blocks where they can drop to not kill you, and I guess hoping that you'll be able to form enough lines out of it that you'll be able to see it. And I think that what he needs to be doing, or what any Tetris player needs to be doing at that point, is looking at the upcoming pieces and kind of planning like 3 in advance, so he knows where he's moving his hand prior to. So while he's looking at one and studying it, he's doing a thumb movement to get that thumb movement, be like, okay, I need to turn that twice and move it over 3 spots. So he'll go like tap, 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 tap. So he's constantly doing something with his fingers that's about 2 steps above what he's doing with his brain, or 2 steps behind what he's doing with his brain. So he's thinking 2 steps ahead of his body. That is not an easy thing to do, lady.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm sure that if he can do it there, he'll be able to do it in other fields. And some of them will be able to make him more money than being a news show host and on Sky News will ever be able to make you. So I wouldn't be ragging on this kid too much. He's clearly very, very skilled at, reading information and interpreting a strategy and then immediately implementing that strategy, because that's what you're doing in Tetris at high levels. It's like,
so like this kid's gonna grow up to be like some sort of tactical genius in whatever field he decides to be in.
Maybe, or even just like a quick thinking. Like he'll be able to just figure things out very quickly. And if that's in something like computer coding,
need this kid in the military or in the hospitals. That's where I can already tell you.
Maybe like I mean, not necessarily. I think he should end up doing whatever he feels he should do that that can allow him to use the way his brain works in a way that is effective. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be in any particular field for like, or that he has some kind of responsibility, because he's just a kid. But I see an accomplishment like that as a demonstration of incredible mental speed and reflex. And I don't see it as something that is just, oh, well, you were sitting down doing things with your thumbs. Right. Yeah, IRL Ender Wiggin. Yeah, exactly. From Ender's Game.
For sure.
So yeah, we got I know we've spent quite a lot of time talking about this kid and kind of veered into like Battlefield territory, but so speaking of we're talking about Battlefield, but speaking about that other shooter, Call of Duty, did you hear what happened over at Activision?
Like they got bought by Microsoft? What are we talking about here?
So yeah, after that whole thing where they got bought by Microsoft, do you have the story there?
Got it.
All right. Yeah, Bobby Kotick. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
This asshole is leaving. And apparently he even threatened to have an employee killed. Employees are coming out and have all kinds of things to say against him, which they've had for a while because of all the harassment and bro culture that he has fostered there. But ever since he's decided to step down, there is more and more employees coming out saying, hey, this guy really is the asshole we all thought he was. Which is amazing because, I mean, you see him on all those news shows. I don't know if you've seen him on like those business, like those NBC, CNN, Fox business analyst things. He comes on there and talks about how great Activision's doing and how amazing it would be if Xbox bought them. And then it's like you realize the minute you step down, they can talk, right? Apparently, he didn't realize that. There we go. No, you just pulling it up there.
Yeah, I got it. But yeah, like, what has it accomplished? Is making threats like that seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the threat and an in and out of court settlement. But then again, I guess he's been doing this like his entire time there.
It's like, come on, man.
I don't think anyone likes him really.
No.
No.
Well, who was it? It was Greg Miller, who used to be on IGN. I think he's on Something Funny now.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, or Kind of Funny. Yeah, he actually stood in front of the cameras and he was like, "Fuck Bobby Kotick," and it was like that was like right out. you know, he knew that he was live on the air. He knew that everyone was going to pick it up, and it was like, okay, you've got journalists literally telling me.
I think that, like, my argument is that, like, saying fuck Bobby, that's arguably like a safe take. It's not it's not even anything someone would really have a problem with other than Bobby Kotick. And I mean, I don't know, like, dude, I'm not sure what kind of access they get to Activision, but I feel like that I feel like it's the kind of thing that, like, it would be like saying who else is a CEO that people really don't like? Like Andrew Wilson sucks. The EA guy who kind of pioneered all the loot box stuff. It's like, yeah. I mean, like, it's not anything that spicy really, though. It's like it's everyone knows these people suck. Mm-hmm. It's more angering if they come out and defend them. They're like, oh well, you know. I mean, I guess they made these decisions and it really sucks for the gamer, but that's how we keep getting these amazing games, everybody. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah. But yeah, the event was widely reported. Business Insider and other outlets back in 2021, Kotick is reported as settling the situation out of court. Apparently, this is the case describes how Kotick left a voicemail on an assistant's cell phone. So now it's actually, you can pull it in 2006, threatening to have her killed. As reported by the Wall Street Journal. Now the matter was settled out of court. Activision addressed the accusations. And following the report, stating that Mr. Kotick quickly apologized 16 years ago for the obviously hyperbolic and inappropriate voicemail, and he deeply regrets the exaggeration and tone in the voicemail to this day.
It's like, nah, man. It just, even if you apologize for it, it just kind of, you kind of get a grasp on what kind of person he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, I have never really liked this guy. I have liked some of his stuff, but I've never really liked a lot of anything that he says or does, or him in any way. I do play some of the games though.
Well, I mean, because it's one of those things that I always say that when you have the standard that if the leader of this company is a dick, every single product that his company produces is therefore something I'm not going to ever support. Mm. In entertainment media, not just video games, because the same applies to movies and music and everything. If you make the standard that you're going to try to meet, that you're not going to support anything where that's produced under a company where the CEO is an asshole, get ready to not do anything. Like, you're pirating everything is what you're saying, because there's no way that you're going to be able to remain consistent on that. You've got to just like only play indie games. And even then, like, there's indie developers who end up having things found out about them that are pretty shady, because video games can be developed by anybody. That's what an indie game is. So by law of averages, some indie developers are going to be psychotic pieces of shit. And some filmmakers are going to be psychotic pieces of shit. Some musicians are going to be psychotic pieces of shit. And if I think it's fair that if something comes out that turns you off from that person and makes you not want to see anything that they're in or play anything that they've made, then that's kind of what you gotta do on those choices. But I think it's always best to go with the creator there, not necessarily the CEO of the company, because I guess I've always been of the mind that I'm going to assume that the top end executives of almost any company in the world are probably going to be pretty morally flexible people. So, I mean, and that's like, I guess I'm trying to be as charitable as I can with that, but I guess it means that they're willing to do things that are going to cause harm to a lot of people for their own interests. And because of things like fiduciary responsibility, they kind of need to be. So I'm not saying that, oh, it would be great if just peace, love, man, like everyone was just happy. I was like, I understand that the business world does work like that, and there are reasons it works like that. But at the same time, if you start saying, I'm never going to play an Activision game, like, yeah, there's like, that would mean I could never play Sekiro, which is one of my favorite games ever. And it doesn't really have anything to do with Activision. It was just a From Software game that Activision published because they had started it as a Tenchu game before it kind of became its own thing. And they're like, okay, we'll just make it a new IP. But they already had the publishing deal with Activision, who owned Tenchu, which, by the way, now I guess Microsoft can get From Software to make Sekiro 2 exclusive to Xbox, which would be hilarious in the face of things like Bloodborne and stuff. But yeah, I think that I think that you're putting a very high standard on yourself if you want to say, if a CEO is a bad person, I can't imbibe anything from the company at all. Because
Right.
I think that when it comes down to artistic products, you should support the art that you find interesting, wherever it's coming from, because that ultimately is what will get more of that type of art to be made, not just by that company, but by other companies that are seeing that success. So it's why, like, for example, like, lots of people hate on EA constantly. We were even talking about Battlefield earlier, and Dead Space remake that came out last year, I think, was very, very good. I think it actually improved on the original game in a lot of ways that are tangible and very easy to point out. With the easiest being, you can explore the Ishimura freely. It's not just segmented levels. It's, you can go back and forth and explore for secrets and things like that in a way that you could not in the original game, which is a big plus.
Mhm.
And I would run into a lot of people on Twitter and in YouTube comments and things that would say, yeah, I'm never buying anything from EA, though. They're a garbage company. Well, okay, but they did a good. So I think that, like, I would strongly recommend not buying things just because they are nice looking shooters that are coming from EA, or a frivolous reason like, oh, that game looks pretty, therefore I buy because it's big new game. Don't buy those ones. But if they make something good, support the good thing that they made, because that will encourage them to be like, oh, maybe we should be doing more of this and less of that. And other companies then see it's like, oh, EA is getting more success with releasing single player focused games like Dead Space and Jedi Fallen Order, and I guess the new one, Survivor. I guess I didn't play Survivor, but they made a lot of money on those games, and I think they lost a lot of money on Battlefield 2042. So it's like, well, I mean, we went all in on this big live service project that we thought was going to make us tons of money, but it ended up being a huge money hole. And now we have a game that's kind of dead and no one wants to play. But, you know, we also made these single player games that are done. There are no incurring expenses. We don't really have to do anything with them anymore unless we want to, you know, do a patch or DLC. And they just made us a bunch of money, and now we can move on and make another one if we want. That was money spent, money earned, next project.
I know, that's kind of how Insomniac does it with a lot of their Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man and stuff like that. You know, they don't do a whole lot of live action, or I'm sorry, live service.
Well, I mean, yeah, Insomniac, have they ever even made a multiplayer game? I can't think. Well, I guess the Resistance games you could play multiplayer, but yeah, I think Sony is more on board with that, but I think Sony's having the opposite problem, which I think they're spending so much money on every game they're making now that they're not going to be able to sustain both. This is the place that you come to play our games, and we're only releasing them on this hardware and selling them on this hardware. So you have to buy a $500 entry fee to play these games, but also they look better than any game ever. Because Nintendo gets away with that because they're just like, we're going to make the games look like Nintendo games that are generally built for Switch, though I'd be arguing they've been developing above the level that Switch has been for quite a while, which is why things like Tears of the Kingdom are still 30 FPS, which is why I think the Switch 2 is a good idea. That probably is about 3 years too late, but, you know, let them do it. Or Super Nintendo Switch is probably the best name for it that they should go with. But the problem is, if you're trying to make the games look better than anything anybody's ever seen and consistently impress people with that, you need to keep making it look better and better and better, which means you need to hire more and more artists to be spending more and more time making the visuals look as detailed as they are. And I think that now Sony is getting to the point that they're having some trouble making that viable. And I think they're Jim Ryan's big push into live service games now, most of which are getting canceled, I think is the evidence of that, because they're like, okay, well, we can keep making things look better and better and better and better and better and blowing people's minds with the pores that you can see on people's skin in a first-person shooter or on the street as you're swinging by in a Spider-Man game. Or we could just scale things down and develop in the pocket, make the games really good, and sell the games on their merits. Where I think that they're getting more towards the point that it's the cinematic experience that is the selling point, more so than we made a damn good video game that we really put a lot of time and effort into. And not that, like, I mean, because even Spider-Man 2, I had fun, enjoyed playing it. But I didn't think that I didn't see $300 million on the screen and while I was playing. Like, I was just like, well, if the original Spider-Man game cost less, the story was better and I enjoyed it more. So what, like, I mean, it's like, did you sell me a premium cinematic experience, or did you give me a kind of crappy sequel that instead of spending one movie ticket on or catching on a streaming service, I had to pay $100 Canadian for? And it did have some frame hitches on PS5 where it's designed exclusively for. So I'm like, that doesn't even run perfectly on here. It was to the point that I really noticed it, because when I beat Spider-Man 2, I went back and finished Spider-Man Remastered on PC. And the first one running on my PC just blew Spider-Man 2 out of the water visually. So I'm like, well, I mean, they're saying that the game looks way better than the original Spider-Man, but I'm like, well, at least the remaster running on a PC looks way better than Spider-Man 2 on PS5, where it's the exclusive hardware designed from the ground up for it. So it's, why are we doing this at this point? If you're just pushing this hardware to its max and it can't handle it, like, are you making premium content, or are you releasing the broken versions of games that are going to be on Steam in 2 years? Because I think that's what's happening with Sony right now. It's not a good spot to be in.
No, and even the stuff that does make it to Steam in 2 years, thinking of the Last of Us PC port.
Yeah, it's pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
It now can run on my new computer. I recently upgraded my CPU at a consistent 30 FPS if I run it at 1440p upscaled. It's a DLSS on balance running at 4K. Which makes you think that people are like, oh yeah, it's native 4K on PS5. I'm like, no chance. No chance. There's no way. If it is having trouble running at 1440p on a Ryzen 9 7950 X3D, which is AMD's like top end processor before Threadrippers right now, like I have the most modern piece of CPU that you can get and an RTX 3090. And I can't run the thing at 4K with a consistent 60. It is constantly stuttering. So it's like, oh.
All right. Yeah, I get that. I really enjoyed Spider-Man. That's probably my game of the year, Spider-Man 2. I do get that, though. When I played this one, when I played the first one, I played it right out the gate, like 2018. No hitches, no glitches, no bugs, nothing. You know, it was just perfect right out the gate.
Yeah,
I think I think I ran into like 6 or 7 bugs within like the first stream that I did of it. And for Spider-Man 2, and I was just kind of like, wow, they say it's gone gold, and they have all these, bugs still to fix. But by the time I did my second playthrough, most of those had been fixed.
Yeah, and it's good that they're keeping on top of it. And I did have fun playing the game. So I'm not saying that if you bought Spider-Man 2, you wasted your money, or if you like Spider-Man 2, you're a bad person. And I was saying this on Tuesday night's main event last week to Beardo. It's like, look, I had fun with the game. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm saying I don't see $300 million on the screen when I'm playing it. And it makes me just think a lot of money was wasted on things that don't really matter for a video game. And that's not to say that there's nothing of value in the game, because I think they had a really great framework to work off with the first Spider-Man game that they made. And I think the systems that they added worked. If I think as much fun as the wingsuit was, I think the argument can easily be made that it did cheapen web slinging a bit, that it was mostly you were only web slinging to get enough speed to fly because flying was faster than web slinging. And I think that might be a bit of an issue because like, well, I mean, you threw the Arkham cape into a game that was already skirting pretty close to being Arkham, but you're Spider-Man. And I don't like, as much as it's fun, because wingsuits tend to be fun in video games, it also makes me think, well, I kind of feel like I need to be like when I was playing Spider-Man Remastered right after it and I could only web sling, there was something that felt kind of better about it because I was paying more attention to the city. I was moving a little more slowly. I was trying to think of which buildings I was going to be trying to hook onto at which time. Whereas in Spider-Man 2, it's just like web sling, fly. Web sling, do a little spinny thing, fly. And that's a different... It's a different feel than the original Spider-Man game, and I can't help but think it makes you feel less like Spider-Man. But I mean, like again, I can see other perspectives on it, but I don't know. I think but the real culprit, though, I think is the story just was not very good.
I'm wondering how much of
I didn't like the story in the game, and that was kind of the big thing for me because mostly the reason I wanted to play it on PS5 and not just flat out wait for the PC version. So I was like, well, I'm interested to see what they do with the story, and I think I'd prefer to experience than get it spoiled, which I think at this point it probably would have been for me anyways. At the same time, I think if it was, I probably would have just been like, oh, okay. I mean,
I'm wondering how much of,
I guess I'm not missing much.
how much of that 300 million went towards Sweet Baby Inc. because I know they were involved.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, I think they were involved with God of War Ragnarok, and I ended up liking that. So I think I don't necessarily like. I think that they're, as much as I don't like. I want to be clear about this. I don't necessarily think that Sweet Baby Inc. is a good company who does good things, because I think a lot of that stuff being thrust upon writers tends to make things worse than it does better. But I also think that it's very easy to scapegoat one element of a game's full production and say, okay, this is the reason why, while everything around this was bad, and or not everything around it was bad, but but why other things around it were affected, and less as, oh, that's probably a piece of the puzzle. But ultimately, I think it's what was the goal of the people who were managing the project. It's like, are you trying to do something that is focused on making the next epic Spider-Man story and having it fit within the world that you made, giving it a good emotional payoff, having really good arcs for both Peter and Miles? Because, I mean, whether anyone likes it or not, they are like two kind of co-protagonists in the game, which I think was maybe not a terrible choice, but I think that it would have made a lot more sense if there was a multiplayer mode where like you could do side missions and stuff together, or swing through the city as like Jojo.
We got some guests coming in here. They apparently disagree with you.
Jojo, it's okay. But you know what I mean? Like, if you could have done, say, hey, like, we won't progress each other's stories because you can't do main missions co-op, but you can do all the side content co-op. So if you want to like get the platinum, one of your friends can be Peter, one of your friends can be Miles, and you guys can just swing around the city solving crimes either separately or meet up together and do things where you have combo moves and stuff. And I think that would have been awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it would have really justified the dual protagonist system, as opposed to just being like, look at how quick you can switch between them with no load times. I'm like, okay.
All right, fine, guys.
I was like, but you want to know how many times I used that while playing the game? 0. Like, I didn't once switch between Peter and Miles voluntarily. I was kind of only doing it when the game does it for me. And then I would maybe do a couple side things with that character while I was playing as him. But I didn't really feel like there was ever a situation where I needed to be actively switching between the two of them, doing 2 missions at once or something. I was like, there was never a time in the game where that came into play, where the game wasn't automatically switching for you, like in the middle of a boss fight where you're swapping between them. So I was like, well, I mean, it's a mechanic that's there, I guess, but it's useless. Like, the only benefit is like, oh, I have Miles missions that I want to do, I'll switch over to Miles. It's like, oh my god, that happened instantaneously. It's like, yeah, but how often are you doing that it being instantaneous matters? Like, if they did do the GTA 5 zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, would that really have been that bad? Because I'm like, for all the times I did it, no. So like, and I mean, to be fair, even like I didn't even fast travel once while I was playing that game. And I mean, if anything, that's a plus for the wingsuit, that I didn't really feel I needed to fast travel at any point, because there wasn't any stretch of New York that didn't have like a jet stream I could go through with the wingsuit to clear half the map. So it's like, well, why do I need to fast travel? What does it matter that the fast travel is instantaneous? This is a game where you can get around really, really fast. And moving around is most of the fun that's here. It's moving around the world as Spider-Man and maybe the combat. But even then, I think it's like, well, once you start saying the combat, it's like, when you
that's what I did with the
5, though. Like,
that's what I did with the first
combat,
Spider-Man.
you know?
I did that with the first Spider-Man. Everyone told me like, oh, the fast travel is just as fun as swinging around. And I think I played that game like twice before I even decided to take advantage of the fast travel. And then I was like, okay, it's got cute little,
the fast travel in the first one is just
but...
funny because it's like it's Spider-Man on the bus or the subway or something, and it's like a little chuckle. But then it was a loading screen, but it also. They made that work where it's like, okay, if you're fast traveling as Spider-Man, that's silly. So we're going to put Spider-Man on the subway and have him just like interact with a couple people and then you're at your destination. So it's one of those things that when people cite the loading times as the big thing that's changed and makes the game amazing, I was like, the only time I really think a really fast loading time matters and affects gameplay in a positive way is in a difficult video game where you die a lot. Because when you can restart instantaneously, it makes it a lot easier to just keep your flow and go back into it. Like Ghost Runner or Hotline Miami is a good example of one. I think that it's interesting that it's the argument against boss runs and Souls type games because a lot of people say, oh, like I want to just fight the boss again. I don't want to have to run through all of this stuff. And I think there's an argument for and against boss runs that could be a whole different tangent I won't get into here. But I think those are the situations in which instant loading benefits gameplay in a tangible way. When it's you die and then you can instantly reset without losing your train of thought. But I mean, that doesn't like. Does that even happen in Spider-Man? I don't think I remember that being the case.
I don't remember.
I think you have I think you have a kind of unskippable death animation that lasts a second or two, and then it's like, okay, come on, and then it fires up again. But I love that just like you die.
Like,
the best though is when it's like you die and it's like press X to continue, X, and then you're back in. like that's the move for using fast load times in a game that can benefit it actually tangibly.
Yeah. And silence.
No, I'm just thinking, it's like, I remember
to
playing Super Meat Boy and just being thankful for that feature.
Yeah, no, it's what made Super Meat Boy compelling because you were constantly getting back into it.
And then it was also fun just seeing all of your deaths at once at the end of the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of any things right offhand, but then again, I woke up 5 minutes before we got on the air here.
Yeah, sorry, it's my fault that we air so early.
You should play Hotline Miami. Hotline Miami is a good time. It's probably very cheap too. It's
even off sale. I think it's like less than $5.
Yeah, honestly, it's worth it for the soundtrack alone.
See, I got it wishlisted. So what is it right now?
It's basically if they made a game that was kind of a cross between Drive and I don't know, The Purge, or not The Purge exactly. I guess The Purge just because of all the mass and stuff. The Drive and The Strangers, you could say, is like mixed into a NES game that runs really, really well and is super fast and has lots of blood.
Yeah, so right now it's $10 on Steam, but it goes on sale very frequently and is usually brought down to like less than $5.
Yeah, it's on everything too, so you can get it on PlayStation or Switch.
Now, speaking of characters who have been around for quite a while, did you guys hear about Mickey?
Oh my, yes.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about wearing my Mickey shirt today, and I didn't. Let's see here if I can actually. I don't know why my computer does not want to pull stuff up today.
I've got the article you sent me. I also have the trailer for what is now being called Infestation Origins.
I got this here. All right. I think that's pulling up on your side. Yep. So as you guys know, Mickey Mouse went into the public domain. Well, let's back up on that. The Steamboat Willie version of Mickey went into the public domain. Mickey himself is not public domain.
Right. The copyright for, if I understand correctly, it's the copyright for the Steamboat Willie cartoon went public domain, but all the other trademarks surrounding Mickey Mouse are still within Disney.
Yeah, so Steamboat Willie version of Mickey is now public domain, but anything involving that red suit, like even the red pants, even just black and like the kind of more, I don't like saying it, but like more the face that he's got now. That's not just like a pure ghost white.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like a Winnie the Pooh situation where the if he's wearing a red shirt, that's still property of Disney.
Yes. So all of that went public domain, and now we're not getting one, but two horror movies based on the House of Mouse and a horror video game.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not into
The
it.
shooter looks better. I'm telling you, Mouse.
Mouse
is something I would actually play.
Like, I think I'm gonna buy that day one. Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
And I have
Mickey Mouse Boomer Shooter. Let's do it, baby.
Do you want to watch that right now? I have the trailer pulled up.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask you to pull that up.
Yeah. Let's we'll get back to the horror shit in a minute, but I want to just watch Mouse.
Viewers at home, I would recommend viewers at home to buy it on your own. Watch this video on your own as well, because StreamYard really chops up the quality quite a lot.
Right,
It'll look a lot better if you watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's the second on the right there.
I have a feeling this isn't over yet.
Cartoons.
I like how you call this a boomer shooter.
That's what they're calling them. Like, there's a whole genre in the
this year it officially became a tag on Steam, so you can tag your game as Boomer Shooter. Boomer shooters they're any shooter that plays more like Doom than it does like Call of Duty. It's just fast, lots of enemies, usually no reloading, but I mean there's variations you can make of it. But yeah, Dusk is one I would strongly recommend. I made a video on Dusk actually.
Oh, nice.
So you can watch my video if you want to get convinced that Dusk is amazing. And they just released a free Dusk HD patch, which is basically a officially integrated texture pack, like HD texture pack for a game that it looks like Quake in its OG art style, like the way you play it, like Quake 1. And the HD one kind of makes it look like an HD texture pack for Quake. And it's pretty cool. So yeah, Dusk HD, check it out. But it's free if you have Dusk.
Nice. And then another one that I've been keeping my eye on in a similar genre is called Captain Wayne Vacation Desperation. And again, it's kind of like, it's like Doom, but with like a wacky pirate almost.
Okay.
See if I can find anything for that. Don't mind me. I'm just doing some research on the fly. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. We're just like the DJs on JJO, because they would do this a lot too, where they do research on the fly and you hear dead air for a minute.
Got it.
Oh, no, don't know.
Early in the morning. Drunken sailor, what would you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Put him in the brig until he's sober. Put him in the brig until he's sober. Put him in the brig until he's sober early in the morning.
There we go.
That scared me. No.
And then, so you play as this guy right here. Yes, there we go. Again, similar kind of
And again, a lot of these games are meant to be played at ultra high frame rates, so I would recommend watching it on YouTube because the StreamYard
Agreed.
15 FPS is really not doing it justice.
Yeah, again, this one is called Captain Wayne Vacation Desperation.
Yeah, this one I've not played. I definitely recommend the New Blood games. Dusk and Medieval and Ultra Kill are all amazing. Gloomwood's pretty cool too, although that's more of a thief type immersive sim.
Okay.
Less a boomer shooter, though made by the same guy who made Dusk. And as well as Dylan Rogers, I think is the other dude. But Proteus is a really good one that's on Game Pass. It's really flashy looking too.
This game looks fun.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't have a release date yet, but it's something that I've immediately wishlisted. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So talking about essentially voting with your wallet, like I definitely want more stuff like this to exist.
Warhammer 40k bolt gun is a good one.
I know Asian Faja, if you've ever heard of him. I'm actually trying to get him on the show as well, but he was talking about a lot of those Warhammer games. I know he actually plays quite a few of them and is actually super good at them.
Yeah, I was doing some streams where I would just bounce between different Warhammer games that I have on Steam, and yeah, they were fun. Maybe we'll do another one of those soon. But I was playing Bolt Gun, Space Marine. There's this, oh crap, what was the Twisted Metal one? There's like a Warhammer 40k Twisted Metal game, like a car combat one that was actually a lot of fun. It's early access, but it's free, so you can just play it. And Dawn of War is the RTS I was going through.
Okay.
Yeah, but so we were talking about Mickey joining the. This is the whole thing with ADHD. We never stay on topic.
Anywho,
I don't remember what we were saying here, but oh yeah, we get two. Yeah, it exists now. Did you guys see the trailer for the new horror movie that they have coming out for it called Mickey's Mousetrap?
Yeah, I don't think it looks particularly good. Nor, like, I even don't think the Infestation 88 one looks good either. So, like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I kind of jumped right to Mouse because I'm like, out of this whole story, the only thing I really care about is Mouse because it looks fun.
Okay, but you got to remember, it's not Infestation 88 because that's bad, apparently.
Well, I mean, I think the 88 thing being like, oh my god, he's saying Hitler or something like that. I think that's dumb. But like, I also think that. I just don't think it looks very good. I think it looks kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy mod for Lethal Company.
It really does. It looks like you remember how bad Slender Man looked?
The first one with where you never saw him, or
it's the one where you're just like running through the woods and collecting notes.
Yeah, developers of Infestation 88, feel free to prove me wrong. I don't like your game doesn't look compelling to me. I'm sorry. That seems more like a cash in where Mouse seems like the kind of thing that a person's been wanting to make for a long time, and now they realize that they can, so they did.
Yeah.
Where Infestation 88 is like, oh god, you're trapped in a haunted place, but it's Mickey Mouse on there. Okay, well, all right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, what you were saying there about Slender Man, that I think they were trying to more go for like the creepy atmosphere. He just looked ridiculous, you know.
Yeah, and again, it's the kind of like, again, this is all like, again, it's like I really don't like that angle. Similar to how like I thought Blood and Honey was the dumbest thing they could have done when Winnie the Pooh went.
It's easy. It's easy, and horror movies are cheap, and they can make a lot of money. That's the only reason it's horror stuff happening.
Yeah, considering they made I want to say Winnie the Pooh on like a $6 million budget, and then made $100 million.
$6 million is way more than they needed to spend on that movie. The original Saw movie was $1 million. Everybody,
did you see Blood and Honey?
I've seen clips of it, and I was not impressed with any of it. So, and I've been told by many people that it's absolute garbage and to not watch it. So, They're people I trust. Also, I'm not just talking about Rotten Tomato scores or something.
Yeah,
Okay,
although
so-
listening to Jay talk about it, like it kind of does sound a little compelling the way he describes it, but I just know.
I mean, like,
Okay.
well, give it a watch, because sometimes watching a bad horror movie is sort of fun too. So I'm like, I'm not saying that. So it's just like,
I was wrong.
$6 million. It's like, you do not need to. Like, I made a horror movie for 16,000, and granted, it looked like a cheap horror movie, but at the same time, I know they're not that expensive to make, especially if you think about the budget while you're writing the script. It is really easy to make a horror movie very economical, because you can make, for example, that one M. Night Shyamalan produced, Devil. This all takes place in an elevator. The entire movie, like, there's a few shots that are outside the elevator, but most of it is like 5 actors and one small set. So you can make a horror movie fun if it's claustrophobic as well.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, I'm the kind of guy who gets a kick out of like the really cheesy B horror movies like Lamageddon or like House Shark.
Oh my God, House Shark!
That's even a different tier than what I'm talking about. Those movies are trying to be bad. Like, that's a bit of a different deal than movies that are trying to be good and turn out bad.
I love House Shark had that one actor, and I said, so he's an actor pretending to be Jim Carrey, pretending to be Abraham Lincoln, pretending to be this guy, you know. And I was like, but it was like, I remember watching that movie. My friend Calvin had us over for a bad movie night, is what they call it, where they watch bad movies intentionally, and we just sat and watched that one, and we were just sitting there laughing the entire time. Like, are you serious?
I still just the one line that I remember from Lamageddon is there's like a group of stoners that are at a house party. One of them goes out for some air, sees the llama, and he starts freaking out, goes back to his friends to tell him about it. And the one guy on the couch is like, dude, you look a little stressed out. I'll pack a bowl for you.
Wow.
But
now, but with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, I actually just looked this up. It was made on a budget of $100,000. So I'm sorry about that.
That makes a lot more sense.
Okay, there we go.
$100,000, but made $5.2 million at the box office.
Okay, well, yeah, because that's why you do that, and that's what I was saying. It was like, if you're spending $6 million on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, like, get out of here. Come on, you don't need to spend
that in their pocket.
That's the thing. I was going to accuse it of being money laundering if that was true. I was like, no way. I was like, from the clips I've seen, that is not a $6 million movie. Like, they definitely paid a lot of money for drugs.
Yeah, I was like, speaking of money laundering, I think it was Side Scrollers talking about Star Citizen, how like the ultimate pack costs like $48,000.
Oh God, I honestly really wanted Craig to like send me a link so I could jump on, because I was like, man, they actually kind of know nothing about Star Citizen, and I'm not an expert on it or anything, but I at least know enough to know that it's a Chris Roberts game. I think that is really important to point out, because like, no, it's not just some guy that said, oh, I'm gonna make this crazy video game. It's the guy who made all the Wing Commander games, like 1, 2, 3, and 4, which have live action cinematics that starred Mark Hamill and Malcolm McDowell. Oh, yeah. It's like, I mean, they were actually like really high production quality games for their time. They were like the big Sony movie games that came out in 1994, because on PC is the place you could do that, and you'd have CD-ROMs that the game's on like 6 discs, and most of it is a Battlestar Galactica type show where you're Mark Hamill selecting dialogue choices in live action, like FMV cinematic sequences, and then you go out and do 3D spaceflight missions. So it's that guy, not having made a movie since I think Freelancer 2 was the last one he made. Pretty sure that was him. Either that or it was Privateer. And it has been crowdfunding the game ever since and refusing to launch it into 1.0, just because he's like, no, it's not ready to be 1.0 yet. And there's a big element of, yeah, this just seems like an absolute scam at this point because they've raised this much money, but it was 650 million is what's been raised for it so far. And if I heard that 6 months ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, that's a crazy amount of money to be spending on any game. Like, that's actually unreal. But after hearing that Insomniac spent 300 million on Spider-Man 2, 600 million on a game as large scale as Star Citizen doesn't seem that insane to me anymore. Because I'm like, well, And it also
Yeah.
does have a lot of that money too. A good chunk of it has gone to Hollywood actors being in live action type cinematic sequences, including Mark Hamill again, who's like apparently the main character, or at least one of the characters that you encounter in the Squadron 42 campaign, which is apparently a single player campaign that they will be launching at some point relatively soon, before like Star Citizen multiplayer 1.1 launch or 1.0 launches. And it's already, I think, been delayed by 2 years. Like I think it was supposed to come out in 2021 or 2022, and now we're into 24 and still not out. But yeah, so Star Citizen's a complicated one. So it's tough to just look at it and be like, yeah, it's definitely a money laundering scam, and not be like, no, it's one of the original great game developers, like the OG guy when it comes to space combat sims, making the biggest scale game that's ever existed. And I like, while part of me wants to say, yeah, I mean, it's going to come out and just be a development hell thing that sucks. Yeah. But there is a part of me that thinks, especially the people who are getting really into this game are willing to blow the amounts of money that they're blowing on the ships. And when you have things like Warner Brothers and Facebook and stuff talking about making their metaverses and stuff, Warner Brothers, I think, is going to make the Ready Player One game, like, but real. So it's like a VR thing that you can do the things you can do in Ready Player One. And I think that in the context of platforms like that being developed, Starfield launching in a way that was mixed. I say it's now overwhelmingly negative on Steam, but at least it was mixed for even when it was out, and there was lots of people saying it was good, because there were also lots of people who didn't really like it. With No Man's Sky being not really everybody's thing and not what they want, if they want, like, the real Star Wars / like Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek, even to an extent, RPG, where you're just out in this big open space world that you're constantly getting into dogfights and things in, and you can be a mercenary and run missions. So I like, part of me wants to say, hey, no, there's a chance that Star Citizen, when it does launch, could be unreal as far as like what it does. And I'm willing to give it that little bit of room. But at the same time, it is really shady, and I've not spent a dime in Star Citizen stuff. Nina Infinity's husband, though, is a big Star Citizen guy. Oh. We my ex-girl and I had our honeymoon in Mexico, and that's where they lived, and we hung out with them a bit. And yeah, we're talking about Star Citizen for a good chunk of time. And I have played the Wing Commander, the Mark Hamill Wing Commander game, so that was firsthand experience for me. And I was basically talking about, like, yes, I played 2 of Chris Roberts' games when I was young, and I loved them. But he hasn't made anything really big since. So, yeah, waiting out.
Yeah, okay, cool. I had never heard that perspective before. I just saw, again, just what, the thing of like, holy shit, there's like,
I guess
content you buy for 48,000 after spending 10,000.
Just think if after this Mario 64 or something like that, Shigeru Miyamoto went away and was crowdfunding a big Ultra Mario game that had amassed $650 million over like 10 years of crowdfunding. Okay. That doesn't sound that crazy when you look at it that way. It's like, well, yeah, like, I mean, people who are into this kind of game know who Chris Roberts is. So like, they probably would be like, all right, yeah, I'm in, because this guy's going to deliver. But I mean, again, I don't want to defend it, because it's again, not out. But I think that it's a little scary to me that there's so much real money going into in-game content, because I think it might unbalance the game to the point that people aren't really going to want to play it. Because if you're up against the whale dudes who already have a whole fleet of ships under their command and can just level anybody and effectively conquer the galaxy, or, I mean, the argument is like, hey, maybe all the people who are getting in and being the big whales in this game are just going to be the villains for everyone in multiplayer for the whole like, I mean, if it functions that way. But I mean, again, it's more speculation at this point. But I think the big thing that Star Citizen is used as its model is that the in-game content that you buy is incredibly expensive. Like, you're talking about like serious investments to get a ship in this game of real money, and that's the part that is really scummy to me. But also, it's like, well, if he's planning to make this a whole big universe that he sustains indefinitely and is constantly updating with a massive team, then yeah, they do need to find a way to monetize it. I don't necessarily think that is the best way to do it, unless the idea is, hey, if you want to become one of the actual like superpowers in this world, you're going to have to buy your way into that. Like,
right.
Yeah, like paying to be, I don't know, an advanced member of a thing that lets you do, like, I don't know, be the guy flying the plane in, I don't know, or not, not plane, the boats. You ever been to one of those things at a carnival where they have like a tennis ball gun that you can shoot at a boat that's running around?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Shoots tennis balls back at you. You pay more to be the guy in the boat driving the boat and shooting from the boat at the people, but you can still just shoot at the boat if you want to as well. So like, I think that'll be the big deciding factor for Star Citizen. It's like, how much fun are the people just shooting at the boats going to have? Or is all the fun in flying the big boat?
Well, it depends on the perspective, just depends on preference at that point. And then, yeah, I'm pretty sure like the people who can drop the tens of thousands of dollars it's kind of like a drop in the bucket for them, or it's like, no, this is like the all-in thing, and I've been saving up and I can finally do this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the model in concept, but at the same time, when people are like, oh my God, it's a scam that he's charging people $48,000 or whatever it is for this one ship, or what this package that's like a fleet of ships, and you can only get access to buy that if you've already spent $1,000 in the game at some point. And I guess the way I see it, it's like, well, that seems to me like, hey, we're going to sell you an empire and you're going to have an active role in this game for as long as it's alive, because we're giving you an entire fleet for this money. So to me, that's like, well, that's a 50K investment in being a part of what could be a really incredible thing, or it could be a total piece of shit that just comes out and no one cares about. So it's a big gamble. I don't think it's a smart investment, but I also think the only people doing that are people who have a lot of money, and are in a position where they care about something like Star Citizen that much. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
It's the idea of like, just because it's offered doesn't mean you have to buy it.
Right.
I think it's like,
This is
well,
true.
but at the same time, you could argue like, yeah, but offering it in general sucks. I'm like, at the same time, that price cap it's to the point where I'm like, but you understand that we're not talking about $100 microtransaction here. We're talking about a serious real world investment into a project at that point, because like 50K is or 49K, I guess, no small amount of money, right?
Right.
So,
And I think the people who are investing in this, they probably, if they might have like a plan to somehow make the money back, be it if they're like a streamer already, or if they just have some way to kind of like get their money back through the game. I don't know if that's a thing in there or not.
I mean, I'm sure there's deals that come with it. Like, you will be one of the leaders of this armada, and you're going to have to play an active role in this game during this time, because and there are probably incentives to be like, yeah, you'll get $1,000 back if you're actively playing for 5 years, or 5,000 back, right? Because if you build in that higher price point, you can start giving people incentives like that to be a very active participant in the game as the person who's the leader of an entire armada. The gamble part, the thing that makes it scummy, is that we don't know if this game is good yet.
Right.
Like that's the real thing. It's like, well, I mean, at least did you guys hear about that thing that happened a little while back where Tinder added like a $500 a month tier?
No, I had not
I
heard
didn't
of
hear
that.
one.
So basically, like, it's one of those things that it sounds ridiculous, because it is. At the same time, if Tinder is trying to find a way to facilitate sugar daddy situations, that is the way to do it. Because no normal dude who's just trying to find his wife X-ray girl on Tinder, true story, by the way. So that's why, like, I will defend Tinder in some ways. Met my wife there. But no normal dude is going to spend $500 a month on a dating profile, even if he's really lonely, because no normal dude has that amount of money to blow. And if the only thing he's doing is spending $500 on his Tinder Platinum or whatever membership it is, then there's no way that he's going to be able to maintain a date if he gets one. Because, like, hey, the girls that are responding to those guys, they want a dude with lots of money. So it's the wink, wink. You can find a girl who will be very impressed by your large amounts of money, even if you're not a very, charming or attractive dude. And there's a market for that. So I kind of get it. And I also don't think it's something that really affects the normal dude market at all. Because, like, there's plenty of girls who will see the $500 tier guy and be like, yeah, no, this guy is like terrible with money, and I'm not impressed by a guy that blows money like this frivolously.
Yep, there's it's a true story
different
happened.
market, I guess, is kind of what my point is. It's that price tier serves a much different market than the one they're going to expect you to be a part of. Like, you're going to buy the game for whatever it costs, or play for free and then buy whatever you feel is necessary to get yourself going in a way. I really doubt
it's to it as the dude market.
Sorry,
I like how you referred to it as the dude market.
Oh no, like the normal dude. For males on Tinder, your average dude who maybe isn't great at just going to a bar and pointing at a girl and getting her number, but so could use some help with introductions, but is decent enough to keep a conversation going and get a date, right? Because that's ultimately like all Tinder is, or any dating app, is just an introduction. So once you've got the introduction, what you do with it is on you. But that's the way that they can introduce girls who are impressed by money into guys who don't care about real love or feelings and just want to impress girls with their money. So it serves that market in a way that I think makes some sense. Just like I think if they want someone to be making a commitment to their game by giving them that much power, like an entire armada of ships in a game where you can affect other players with your power, the idea is that they have it that expensive so that they know anyone who takes them up on it is going to be serious about the game and is going to use that power in a way that can benefit the other players of the game, because there'll be someone in charge of that power that is actually going to be concerned with using it in a way that's interesting. Because otherwise, why would you spend that much, even if you're crazy rich? Unless it's just, I read this article on Twitter and thought it would be funny to be the guy that bought 50 grand worth of Star Citizens.
There's definitely those people out there.
I mean, sure, but are there that many? I think like most people that are rich tend to not want to spend their money on things that are just an absolute sink, because that's how they stay rich. Otherwise, there are people who are rich for a limited amount of time and then end up being Boogie 2988, right?
Exactly.
It's like, you see, you don't treat your money well, man. You don't know how to spend it.
Yeah, and speaking of people who are rich and all that stuff you were saying about Tinder, did you guys hear about Amaranth?
Oh yeah, what was that thing? I saw that there was that. I didn't read that article that was posted in the thread, but yeah, go ahead, explain.
So you got it pulled up here.
Yeah, there we go. Boom.
Yeah, all right, he's got it. Yeah, so yeah, I just came across this last night. So Mark, I do apologize if you didn't get like a whole lot of notice about this story, because I literally just came across my feed and I was like, oh wow, that's something you should actually discuss here. Yeah, she launched an AI capable of advanced role playing based on her personality.
Yeah, it's a chatbot.
Yeah,
that's all that is.
So she's launched this thing that can pretend to be her for her fans. And I mean, I know I'm kind of taking this from Gaming Bible here, but it is weird. I mean, like, why would you even want this?
It's not the first one. It's not the last. It's just the one that looks like Amaranth is going to charge you several $100s to be fake girlfriend.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a market for that too, as much as it says.
Well, hell, there's a market for her vaginal yeast being put in a beer.
Yeah, or the fart jars she was selling. Like, I mean, and to a certain extent, I feel like some of this stuff is jokes, but she actually is selling them for actual money, and people are buying them. So, I guess I could make this to be consistent. I would take the same stance of, well, I mean, if she can get away with charging it, that's fine. Yeah. I worry though that the what's the Japanese word for it? Hikikomori, I think is it. It's the guys who just have abandoned the concept of trying to get a girl or or make a family of any kind. Like, they've just decided, okay, no, I'm only going to be alone and with what's around me. And those guys might actually get some use out of that, because that's specifically the kind of relationship that they want. They want a very superficial relationship where they don't really have to do anything that thoughtful. Like, you don't have to think too much about how you're treating a chatbot for it to treat you nice, especially if it's programmed to pretend it's your girlfriend that's really, really nice and sweet. You know, so like, I feel like there is definitely a market for that. I think it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's, you know, like guys like that don't care if what I think of them at the same time. So
I think these start as jokes, and then they realize that they could actually make money with them, and then she just goes with it. Yeah,
it's like I am not that desperate.
I mean, like existing in the online world as your career is not an easy thing to do. Like my wife does it, and I'm going to be at least trying to do it soon because I'm leaving the military within the next year or so, and just whenever my release goes through. And you do have to think about ways that you can monetize your content in lateral ways. So one thing that I recently did, in fact, I posted it today on my locals, is if you're subscribed to my locals, you can download uncompressed versions of every single one of my videos, including the videos I made for Geeks and Gamers. So I got Jeremy's okay on that. And that's something that I think might incentivize some people to sign up to my locals. It's not a typical thing to do, but also if you have full quality downloads of my videos that have tons of gameplay footage in them, and you're a YouTuber yourself, you have my permission. Go ahead, take that footage, make your own videos by using my gameplay footage if you want some nicer looking stuff. I don't mind if you use it, if you're one of my supporters especially, but honestly, if you share it, I don't really care also. It's like, sure, get my stuff out there, that's fine.
But yeah, to be perfectly honest, like it's my goal hopefully this year to get my channel monetized one way or another. It's just, yeah, it's just the ridiculousness of the AI girlfriend thing that I was just pointing out.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, like, I guess I was just saying that things like selling t-shirts, writing a comic book, like doing all that stuff is a good way to be like, how can I make existing as an online personality be more of a full spectrum diversified career with different streams that are giving me different types of income, so that I don't have to worry about any one of them failing and ending me and making it so that we have to sell our house or whatever, right? Okay. And I mean, like X-Ray Girl, she's doing fine, and like currently I'm still in the military, so we're not in any financial trouble or anything. But within the next, I will have about 2 years where I can work on things and still be getting like my military sort of like medical leave thing, because I mean I lost my leg, so I'm going for the medical release, but we'll have 2 years to really work on it. But if I can't make it work in that time, you know, like going back and just getting another job is going to be what I do. So, and I think that I've got to give Amaranth, I hate saying this, a little bit of credit in that, as much as her ideas are cringe and silly and ridiculous, and I think predatory in a lot of ways, like I think she takes advantage of a lot of guys who are her supporters in ways that are not entirely fair or honest. And I guess that's the way that I would put that, where I mean, again, I have to, like, my wife is something of an e-girl, so it is also kind of tough for me to walk around this and not end up sounding like a gigantic hypocrite. But I guess it's respecting the people who support you is, I think, the difference, because X-Ray Girl respects everyone who supports her stuff. Like she's never snickering behind her back about her fans to me, ever. Like she's right. Very, very sweet and appreciates all the support. Whereas Amaranth, not through her actions, like just through the stuff that she releases, there's something about a lot of it that feels like she doesn't respect the people who are buying it. It's like, oh wait, do you really think that this AI girlfriend version of you is going to be healthy for these men? Like, are you thinking about that at all? Do you know it's going to be unhealthy for them and you don't care? Like, I mean, you know, that's where it starts to get a little, you can judge it a little more easily as being morally incorrect, because there's intent there. There's intent to be like, I'm selling my farts to people who are turned on by fart smell and love me to the point that they want to smell my bowel gas. So it's like, well, I guess if there's a market for it, sure. But do you think that's, I don't know. Like I wouldn't buy that, and I would feel sorry. I'd honestly feel sorry for everyone who did, because it's like, dude.
Well, this thing with this bot that she's creating, with the bot will be available only to those who are subscribed to her Fansly page, which is actually a rival service to OnlyFans. Yeah. Which she has an OnlyFans page, from what I've read on here.
I mean, again, that kind of goes, like, I have a Rumble page, even though I have a YouTube page. So, like, I mean, that I think that's fine. Like, if you're going to put OF content out there, you might as well put a Fansly page up too, because if you can get money from both of them.
she put on there that she just launched an influencer AI bot. It's not a chat. She is based on, or I'm sorry, it is not a chat bot. She's based on my personality and has full anatomy and can remember anything you tell her, but won't tell anyone.
Now, this is not a chat bot.
No.
Okay.
That's
All
literally
right,
what
then.
it says here. This is not a chat bot. Like, okay.
It's a chat bot with an AI learning infrastructure. That's it. That's all it is.
I'm just
It's
waiting to
Chat
download
GP
Lucy
It's
Lou.
a Chat GPT bot.
Good God. Did you see how much you have to pay for this? It says, make no mistake, and the subscription tier you enrolled in will determine your access to the bot. The basic tier is called Friends with Benefits and will set you back $99.99. So, I mean, you've got $100 to just throw down. Or you could opt for the boyfriend tier, which is listed at $199.99. Also, you could get your rocks off with her robot. Almost makes you wonder. It's like the ever popular streamer will get up to 2024 as streaming platforms are very much meta game with the latest and the greatest ideas being highly sought after.
Gentlemen, I recommend finding an economical way to jack off.
I'm reading just part of that story.
My Google search is
still
free.
Why? You know why? Because there's a market for it. That's why, and it's legal. So.
Oh yeah, jacking off is tons of fun.
Really? Wow.
If there's any memers that catch this later, what can you do with that?
Yeah.
I mean, where's the lie?
Apparently, jacking off is tons of fun, like you just said.
I want to be clear. I recommend that everybody jack off because it will increase your ability to deal with the world and also increase your prostate health by quite a lot. But yeah, and also just don't do it in a way that costs you a ton of money, though. That's it's technically it's free. It's one of the most awesome things about being a dude is that is free to do. You don't have to pay anything, really.
Just requires a little imagination or a strong enough internet connection.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's plenty of economical content you can find. You don't need to blow the bank on it. There's better things you can be spending your money on.
Wasn't there I think one of the remakes for Celebrity Deathmatch? I think it had Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian fighting or something like that. You know, the animation. He's like, "Oh, you'll never see anything like that unless you have the internet." And they were like talking about how like their clothes were coming off.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking of, Charlie?
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, like really. Yeah, let me see if I can find that here. So, what was that? Celebrity Deathmatch. I remember watching that as a kid.
Yeah, watch getting claimed for that though, because it's MTV.
Yeah.
Yeah, Celebrity Deathmatch was like a claymation show where they'd have celebrities in a wrestling match, but it would go all out and they'd end up dying and stuff.
Okay, yeah, I can't find the clip for it here. I want to say that was with Paris Hilton. I want to say that's the one where. Oh yeah, it was like Paris Hilton versus Nicole Richie. It's one that they perfect.
Yeah, they had a show together, a reality show.
Yeah, that, and apparently it did not do very well. Well, I guess it did well in the ratings, and people talked about it, but apparently it ruined their friendship.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I remember it doing really well. I think it had a bunch of seasons and was super popular with the girls it was in high school with.
Because, yeah, there was the Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, and then there was also the Britney Spears versus Christina Aguilera. I really enjoyed watching that when I was a kid. That was actually back when a lot of my friends were into regular wrestling. And I was sitting there going like, "Oh, did you see Celebrity Deathmatch?" You know, because I wasn't watching a lot of regular wrestling. I did watch some of it, and I was a big fan of like NWO. But you remember that WCW versus NWO? I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
I'm not really a wrestling guy, so
Okay. Yeah, it's like back when Hulk Hogan, after he left WWE, went to NWO kind of thing. I wasn't into it for very long, but then I remember this came out, and everybody was fighting at that time whether wrestling was real or not. And I was like, yeah, the realest you can get is Celebrity Deathmatch, which is just all clay.
yeah, fair enough. We were talking about the reality of wrestling on Tuesday night's main event last week too, and like my stance on it is I think it's an athletic activity that you do need to be a very, very talented athlete in order to perform wrestling, but that it is not a sport and that they're not playing a game that has set rules.
Right, it is just that. It is not anything. I mean, Vince McMahon stopped short of just saying flat out that it was fake. You know, he was like, these moves are calculated. They are, you know, highly trained. They are. You don't just jump in the ring and do this like a lot of people think.
It's a stunt show. It is, and it's impressive. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think wrestling, it's not easy to do. I know people who do that style of wrestling, like entertainment wrestling, and they have to train really hard for it, and they involves a lot of practice. It's like choreographing a fight scene in a movie, and things do happen that they have to react to on the fly. It's just they're not actually competing against each other in the sense of they're not being scored by the metric of a game the way you would be in, say, MMA, which is an actual fight. You could argue that the refs will fix things, so it's just as rigged. I'd be like, yeah, but ultimately, if one of them taps out, they lose the fight. Like that is the thing. It's like that. There is a rule in place that governs MMA in a way that I think doesn't with professional wrestling. That it is more of a show than a sport.
Right. Now, I'm not sure where Charlie went here. But so we were talking about Amaranth, and of course with wrestling, you know, they're pretty much stripped all the way down, it seems like. I actually did see here, I don't know, did Charlie send you this one about the Twitch rules?
Yeah, I've been tracking that for a little while.
It has reemerged once again. Twitch is now revisiting again its guidelines to ban the implication of nudity. Now you can't even pretend like you're naked. You can't put up those black bars and say, "Oh, I'm naked under here," if you're not actually showing stuff.
I mean, yeah, and I think that ultimately, I think Twitch just needs to really decide if they want to be an anything goes site like Twitter. If not like OnlyFans, then I think Twitter's a good parallel, because you can have full-blown porn on Twitter. Like it doesn't really matter at all. And it's sort of existed in a way that it's still become a massively popular social media platform that, while it does have a lot of porn on it, like there's definitely a lot of OnlyFans girls that will just like random tweets of yours so that you'll check out their profile and maybe subscribe to their OnlyFans page. But at the same time, it's still a mainstream platform that a lot of people use. So it's like, well, are you just like, Twitch is the right move to just say, okay, porn on Twitch is fine. It's just going to be very strictly age gated, and we have to make sure that there's checks and balances so that porn is never coming up on the recommended page for children. Because I think that's the big thing that people have a problem with. It's not that these girls are doing anything that's actually that bad, because I mean, like there's nothing wrong with a naked lady. Ultimately, it's like it's inappropriate for children. But there's nothing morally incorrect about showing off your body if you want to show it off and people want to see it. I think that to me is totally fine if you want to make that decision. But I think the trick is the girls who try to skirt really close to the line of being almost porn on Twitch, where you can be 13 and have a Twitch account. And that's probably content that most parents are not going to want to see their 13-year-old on their 13-year-old's homepage. You know, like so they don't have to look for it. It just pops up as the trending video. And that is a bit of a problem. Without
having ever looked for something like that, just I couldn't tell you like how many mornings I would just like pop onto Twitch, see who I'm following happens to be on. And then there was this that I don't remember her name, but it's just the woman just full on tits out doing body painting. And that was the front page. And it's like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, hey, body painting. It's it's a long-standing tradition that women have engaged in. So go for it, but also maybe put it on a platform that is more geared towards adult content. Or I mean, like, the big thing is just age gating in a way that is actually strict. Which, as much as I think a credit card is probably the easiest way to do it, because I think when you start asking for people's driver's license or like a passport or something, that can start getting a little squirrely if every passport is all of a sudden asking for your government issued ID. But I think if you have to make the idea of an initial 99-cent purchase, that you have to log into this website with an account that costs you 99 cents, and it has to be paid with a credit card. I think that is probably the way to do it. And the thing that parents then need to not do is allow their kids to have that 99-cent charge, or something like that, or maybe even make it $1 a month or something, or like 1 cent a month. Actually, an initial $1 payment for creating the account, and then
not even that. I mean, you could do like the parental controls like they do on the consoles.
No, I was just thinking like there's some places
you kind of can't on the internet though. It doesn't work the same.
Well, it's the thing is like. Sorry, go ahead. Okay.
Well, I'm saying that parental controls on a console. A console is a very strict system. The internet is not. Like, so you can get to a lot of places on the internet pretty easily, even if there are parental controls there, because they're generally not super ultra difficult to get around. But ultimately, once a kid gets access to the open internet, they're going to do what they're going to do, and you're probably not going to be able to stop them. The thing is, if they need to be gated from certain things like pornography, the best way to do it is to have those on systems that you are required to provide some kind of identification in order to watch, identification that you are of age. So I think a credit card charge is the way to do that, because it's the only thing that is an ID that can prove that you're over 18.
Right. And not only like you can do the charge, and then it doesn't necessarily have to cost you any money. Like it just needs to be like how I think it's like on some services where it's like, okay, we'll take like a quick like $2 charge, just verify that everything's legit, and then charge it back. Yeah.
Or do that, but I would say an interesting way to do it, to have it recur, is have that happen every month, because then the parent is always, if the parent's credit card is then stolen by the kid, the parent will see a charge from Twitch every month get charged and rejected. Okay. And if they use Twitch, or they gave the kid the credit card and like, I don't care if you see tits, whatever. Like that's a different story. I mean, you could make your judgments on the parenting, but ultimately if they don't care and they're not monitoring their credit card bill, it's kind of on them at that point. But I think that would be the way to do age gating in a way that's functional, so that you stop having kids be exposed to stuff that's too intense for them at the time in the life that they're seeing it, because that happens, and it's not good for kids.
Now, what's going on with Twitch though is the companies they put new language to its community guidelines in response to streamers implying nudity with carefully placed objects like sensor bars or camera angles.
That was already a loophole. And everyone who was doing it knew it too. That's why they did things like put up physical sensor bars where they'd have like a piece of construction paper over their boobs.
Right.
They're trolling at this point though. So they did have to change the rules in order to stop that. But I think honestly, their other option is, just let the chains off and be like, hey, do whatever you want to do on Twitch, but we're going to age gate it very strictly.
Right. Yeah, and it goes on here. The revised terms also ban see-through clothing, because that was a lot of things too, is they said you have to be covered. Well, you never said you couldn't see through the cover, clarifying that apparel must be fully opaque on bodily areas that require coverings. They also emphasize the importance of categorizing content correctly, including when streaming from near a pool, a beach, a hot tub. Remember the whole hot tub stream. The full coverage of the buttocks is required. Requirement is actually loosened. So it's like, okay, well, they say full coverage, and then you see a woman at like a, at a pool, and she's got the bikini on or something like that. I guess it's loosened there. But they plan to eventually blur thumbnails for streams labeled as having sexual themes. Yep. As it stands now, Twitch requires streamers to cover their buttocks, genitals for female presenting streamers, the nipples, and under bust areas.
Just this kind of a joke, like how people are like trying to skirt around Twitch to essentially put their, not safe for work stuff out there.
Yeah.
I kind of want to just like go on the other side of that, start an OnlyFans, and just do like the tamest stuff.
Yeah, there's people who do that. My friend Mark After Dark's a guy who I've been on EFAP with, and he's got an OnlyFans where he just posts his like artisan coffees. Like, he makes really nice like coffees and lattes and stuff with like drawings in them, and he has an OnlyFans where he posts coffee pictures. It's really funny.
Like, I just want to stream this stuff to OnlyFans and just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing's stopping you. That's actually what they originally wanted. I think the reason I don't is because A, that's effort, and B, I don't think anyone's going to care. So like, I don't think I have a market on OnlyFans, but
I figured just like do it.
I'm sure I'm surprised. Like gay dudes love me. I always show a lot of collarbone, mostly because I find if I wear a high collared shirt, not right now, my beard's pretty short, but when my beard's longer, if my beard goes beyond the top of like a t-shirt, like a normal t-shirt, it just makes my neck disappear because I have dark hair and I'm against a black couch. So I blend into the couch, and then I look like a big blob up to my nose, like I'm wearing a cloak. It's weird.
So you're like Drax from what was that? The Avengers Endgame. Like if you just stand perfectly still,
yeah, kind of like
that. Disappear. You're working on the art of standing so perfectly still that I become invisible. And I love like they actually had people like walking around him, not even realizing he was there. It's like, how long you been there? He's like, the whole time.
Yeah. That's why I had to switch to V-necks, because I was like, man, my neck keeps disappearing when I'm on camera, and I'm on camera a lot when I stream. And look at these puppies.
Mm-hmm. The puppies are sitting there going like, you don't disappear to us, Dad.
Now Rocky disappears though; he just vanishes like that.
Oh, okay.
He likes being between my legs in a little like rocky cave made of blankets.
Okay.
Jojo
like I said, I really need to get a dog.
Two dogs is the move, I'm telling you.
I want a Staffy.
Because then they can play together.
And yeah, we had a couple other stories to go through here.
Well,
wait, what?
We should probably do the one that we teased. The Star Wars one.
Yep, that's where I was going there. I don't know how you feel about this, Mark, but and if I can actually get this to there you go, you got it. Okay.
I mean, I just don't care. I'm just out on Star Wars at this point, so it's like, oh, they're getting a Pakistani independent filmmaker to make the Rey movie. I'm like, there's no like, okay.
It's about time women shape the Star Wars.
All right, like I'm not going to watch it, so it doesn't. I make whatever.
I'm not going to either. I
haven't watched Ahsoka. Like I watched 2 episodes of Ahsoka. I hated them both.
I haven't seen that yet.
So I'm just like, look, if at this point I'm not watching any of the Star Wars stuff that comes out, with the only exception of Andor, because Andor is actually really, really good. Yeah, I just, honestly, if it's not Tony Gilroy making it, I'm just kind of out at this point. It's like, I don't know.
Well, it's just
you've not made anything that's impressed me in a long time.
Like, I'm not going to watch this either, but it's just the sheer like audacity behind all the statements in that. It's just like, it's just.
They wouldn't get this kind of pushback if they didn't like just throw it out there. It's like, right. It's like, cool. So, you got a woman directing Star Wars. That is awesome. Honestly, that is pretty awesome. But at the same time, it's like, if you don't sit there and make a huge deal out about it, then you're not going to get the pushback. It's when you sit there and go like, if I were to sit there and go like, hey, look at this bottle. Isn't it the greatest bottle that's ever been? I'm going to get like 9,000 people that go like, no, the better bottles out there.
And the rest of us are just going.
I'm just kidding. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of where I'm at with it. At the same time, I think if you consider her perspective in her life, I think her statements are a little bit more warranted just because she's Like she's coming from a place like Pakistan, and like, I mean, being an activist for women in Pakistan is actually like there's some value in that. It's not totally ridiculous for her to be saying, yeah, like I need to make the men in my place uncomfortable by doing things like driving. Yes, I want to make them uncomfortable so that they'll start realizing that, yeah, I can drive a car, so that's fine. You know, like when you're talking about a place that is that restrictive, I understand why she's saying the things that she's saying.
Right.
What I don't think is coming across to everybody else is that you're talking to the world now.
Mm-hmm.
People who don't need to be made uncomfortable when it comes to respecting women at that degree, because we don't care. Like if there's a cool female character in a movie, we like her. That's it.
Well, then you get the side that says, "Oh, why would you be uncomfortable?" And it's like, well, because you literally just got in everyone's face about it, you know. It's, you know, but I mean, it's cool. I probably will see this, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you know, I don't care. Gender be damned. If you make a good Star Wars movie or you make a good Star Wars show, good Star Wars book, whatever you do, make a good one. Make a good one. You know, your gender really shouldn't even matter. Gender, race, nothing else should matter. You're putting out something awesome, you know?
Right, yeah, I mean, exactly. But I think the problem with Star Wars is not necessarily the person you have in charge of it so much, or in charge of directing it, so much as the decisions you make about what is being written and who is doing that writing. Mm-hmm. Because that's Star Wars' real problem now. And it's the reason why Andor is good, because Andor actually has good writing. And if you've not seen it, I recommend watching it. Watch it in full too, because you won't understand how brilliant it is until you get to the end of the prison arc. But by you get to the end of the prison arc, you will be kind of blown away, and you'll think that Andy Serkis probably deserves an Oscar for a television performance, which isn't a thing that happens. But he's that good. He's really damn good at it. Gollum, man. He rules.
Now, it does say here that though the film was announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023 on April 7th of last year, Ridley said that she hadn't been approached about the role as of February of 2023, but the rapid turnaround between the initial conversation with Lucasfilm and her appearance at the event had her feeling very nervous, saying that she was shitting herself. That actually comes despite Kathleen Kennedy claiming at Star Wars Celebration 2023 that Obeid, or however you say that, I'm not even sure, Obeid. How do you say her name?
Chinoy?
Obeid Chinoy, yes. Plus the movies from Filoni, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced these, Filoni and Mangold were pretty far along in development.
Oh, yeah, the guy who directed all the Ahsoka episodes and the guy who directed Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yep.
Star Wars is saved.
Or if you watch the South Park ripping on Kathleen Kennedy, all they're going to say is put a chicken and make her gay, and I want it lame.
Yeah.
That was just the whole
thing. Put a chick in the fucking linguine and make it gay.
Put a chick in the linguine and make her fucking gay, and I want it lame. I just love
that. Really,
they really ripped on her in that episode.
I really feel like if people could just stop making a huge deal out of, oh, you know, what your sexuality and skin color is, like, it would be fine. If it you know, within the story itself, if it's incidental, then that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But it's like in any you know angle of it, it's, you know, even someone who, you know, just anybody, just, you ever have someone who pushes someone else on you so hard that you go so far as not to like them or oppose them simply because they've been pushed on you for so long and so hard? Doesn't matter who it is. And that's just my take on like this whole, you know, what's been going on with Star Wars and Hollywood and all that. It's like, it's not because they are this, that, or the other thing, is that you just keep pushing them on me.
Mm.
So I think at this point they've
organically putting the character in there, and they're not letting it, because that's what happened with like Avengers Endgame. Remember when it was after that snap and like half the universe had disappeared. And then remember, it was actually one of the creators. I think the creator of Hulk was sitting there, or no, it was the creator of Thanos, was actually in the movie, and he was part of that support group that that Cap was doing. And he said, "Oh, my husband was, snapped and got," and it was like that. Actually, that was being pushed on us. That was, they were showing, because you had somebody in there say my wife, you had a woman in there say my husband, then you had him say my husband, and that was kind of showing that the whole world had been affected, and it was organically put in there.
That was the director of the movie. It was Joe Russo, who was the director of Endgame and Infinity War and Civil War and Winter Soldier.
Oh, that was his character?
Yeah, Joe and Anthony Russo, the Russo brothers, are the ones who directed Winter Soldier, Civil War, and the two Endgame movies, like Infinity War and Endgame. And that's it. They didn't direct any others. And I think those are probably 4 of the stronger Marvel movies. So Winter Soldier's got some issues, but I still enjoy it. But Civil War, though, I think has gotten stronger in my view over time, because it actually holds up really well. Unless you're just directly comparing it to the comic, because that's where Civil War is not going to win in that structure of critique, because it's not doing that at all, so it automatically loses. But it does tell a very good story, I think. But yeah, it was one of the Russo brothers. I'm pretty sure it was Joe who was the gay guy in the support group.
Yeah,
but I mean, like gay people exist. Like that's fine.
But that was so organically put in there, because you had a group of like everybody from all walks of life sitting there talking about how that event had affected their lives and how they felt, and it was so organically put in there. It wasn't like, you didn't feel like anything was being shoved on you.
My problem with the snap is it's less the opening minutes of Endgame and more everything they've done since that almost entirely ignores the snap. Like, I mean, Fringy actually, like Fringy from EFAP, he has a great video on Avengers Endgame where he has a whole segment in the middle where he goes over what would actually happen if half the people on the planet just disappeared, and all these secondary deaths that would occur as a result. That, like, if you just took out half the people in the world all at once with no warning, it would kill probably 75% of the world.
Right.
Like, and it's pretty wild when you break it down with, like, first of all, half the planes flying in the air are immediately going to the ground. So it's everyone in the air, half of them, including the ones on the planes that are also disappearing on every plane, the ones that do land, all the pilots that disappear could be a major problem there. Or all the places where it's the pilot and the co-pilot. Because, 50-50 chance, it means, 2 people in one room are going to disappear. Like a lot. In many circumstances, there'll be more than 2 people in a room, and 2 of them will go, which means the pilot and co-pilot going at the same time is not impossible, and every single one of those planes is going down.
Right. That and how you said, like, how they've ignored the snap. What I really like was that in the Spider-Man movies that came after that, they actually addressed the snap.
But they brushed it under the rug. They treated it like a joke. Like, well, now I mean the worst problem we have is the teenagers who were 18 or 16 or whatever 3 years ago are still 16 now, and all the people who didn't get snapped but are 12 are in their classroom. Like, it's like that's how they dealt with it. Not like, hey, let's. Like, now we've changed the world with a catastrophe that is impossible to just ignore without actual time travel and that changing the future so that it never happened. Because that's the only way you could do it, to have the snap occur and have everything go back to normal. And the big problem the MCU did is they tried to get to the back to normal without doing enough stuff with the snap. They tried to do a little bit of it with that Captain America and Winter Soldier movie, or Winter.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I haven't seen yet. It's on Disney Plus,
they changed at the end, because they changed the title of it at the end to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And now I'm like, wait, hold on, now I'm mixing it up. But also, I think they should have changed Bucky's name from the Winter Soldier after that story too. Like, that didn't make any sense. Like, wait, why is he still Winter Soldier?
Well, that's why
his Soviet assassin name.
My wife and I were talking just the other day. Actually, I think just yesterday.
I'd be like, wait, can I be Falcon now?
Yeah.
Can you give me some wings?
We were talking about how nothing makes sense in the MCU. I mean, because I saw the last Ant-Man movie, I saw the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Those were excellent. I liked them.
Ant-Man? Hold on. You thought Ant-Man Quantumania was excellent?
I liked it. It was not as good as the other ones.
Oh, dude.
No, but hold on. But the last Spider-Man movie where they put all of them in there, No Way Home. That I absolutely love.
Oh yeah, No Way Home I think is very clearly the strongest movie they've made arguably since Infinity War, maybe since Endgame. I think I could argue No Way Home.
The
is
last
better than
Ant-Man
Endgame,
movie, I thought they were good. They were trying, and you could very much tell that they were trying. But it was like honestly, I think that might have been more studio meddling rather than.
I think it was just terrible script ideas all across the board. And it was, to me, it was a Marvel movie that was like, it was very, very clear that it was a Rick and Morty writer writing a Marvel movie, because it was a 3-hour long Rick and Morty episode. Like that's
Which
really
wouldn't
all
be a
it
bad
was.
thing.
I mean, if it's Rick and Morty, but if it's trying to be a serious, that was like, oh, now we're introducing the new Thanos level threat. Don't introduce the Thanos level threat in the Rick and Morty movie. And I mean, even then, oh man, it's just, I don't know. Watch Muller's video.
And I tried watching Thor: Love and Thunder, and I was just kind of sitting there going like this.
I couldn't even get through that one. That one and Black Panther.
I wanted to like it
because
because Christian Bale was in it.
I hate this.
Yeah,
Christian Bale is the villain. I was like, Christian Bale.
I'm at the point now where the brand or the actor in it is not enough to get me to want to see a film. I need to see something from it that makes me actually want to see the movie.
Also, I actually have a friend who genuinely enjoyed the Marvels. I think just because there were cats in it.
I haven't seen it yet. I wanted to. I legitimately wanted to go see it, but with everything, Charlie, with everything that happened in my personal life.
These are $300 million 2 to 3 hour long YouTube skits at this point. Like that's what we're getting from Marvel and Star Wars for that matter. It's like nothing is actually serious except for the odd times that a blip happens and something serious comes out, like Andor or arguably No Way Home. Even though I think No Way Home's got some issues, but overall it was pretty good. I would say that I did enjoy that one, but it's also it's going to a couple different wells for the payoffs in that movie, and you can't. Yeah, I think that if anything, the multiverse burnout that happened within the span of a year, I think is indicative that it's just, you can't just throw multiverse into something and then find that makes it good. You need to do things with it.
Apparently, Disney got hit so hard last year with financial disappointments like Little Mermaid, and I guess Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did really well, but with like the Marvels and all that, they got hit with such a disappointing box office return. I guess next year their only Marvel movie or Marvel cinematic movie is Deadpool 3. And like I was talking to my wife about it, I was like, that's not even a typical superhero movie, so that's actually probably what they need,
I mean, yeah, I think as much as Deadpool 3 might end up being kind of fun because they're pulling the only two things in reserve they can, the Fox X-Men movies, Deadpool and Wolverine, the two popular characters, into one movie, and it might have some good jokes if they allow it to be rated R, which I'm skeptical of.
They are.
And I think
they've said multiple times they are, and Disney has come out and saying it's going to be R-rated. They're letting it do what it does.
Let's see how R-rated it is what I'm saying. I have a feeling it might be rated R because, hey, did you see this CGI blood that we threw into a couple of these shots? It's pretty crazy, eh? I'm willing to bet we're not going to hear a lot of swearing. I'm willing to bet there's not going to be any nudity at all, unless maybe it's Ryan Reynolds' ass once or Hugh Jackman's. But yeah, it's going to be a very soft R rating. It's going to be a hard PG-13 that they're throwing an R on it for marketing. And I guarantee that later on in the year, there will be a PG-13 cut in theaters, just like they did with Deadpool 2 the second they bought Fox.
But that's the thing, is Ryan Reynolds actually has already said, because he was the main producer or one of the main producers, he wouldn't come back if they didn't do a hard R and let him just do what he did with the first two movies, with the continual swearing and the over-the-top violence and blood. And Disney was actually the one that he said it took some finessing, but they agreed to it.
I'd be happy to be wrong about this one, but again, I'm going to wait and see, and I'm going in expecting a bit of a hard PG-13 that I guess you could argue is an R, but I'm willing to bet the R rating is on there mostly for marketing if it ends up on there at all. Because I think also there's a very real world in which Disney might say, we can't let the only Marvel movie we're putting out this year be R-rated because we need to make money. We're dying. We need money right now.
I don't know.
And it might piss a lot of people off, but it might get a lot of teenagers to go see it.
Yeah, because they keep saying that they're way more open to R ratings, and they're actually putting Deadpool, what is that, Born Again? They're putting that on Disney Plus, and they actually initially said that was going to be
Daredevil.
Yeah, Daredevil.
Well, I mean,
that was on Netflix, and Disney gave them permission to make it as violent as they wanted. And now they're putting that. They're actually they're bringing that back, and they're putting it on Disney Plus. And Disney Plus is actually saying now they're letting it be what it was on Netflix, and they're letting it get away with the M rating.
But that was after. It was after they tried to do something else with Daredevil Born Again. Do you know the story of what the initial concept that they filmed? I think 8 episodes of 14 of. I think it was supposed to be 14 or 16 episode season.
Well, I know they were trying to water it down, and it just wasn't.
Not water it down. It was a legal drama that, like a legal comedy that was basically kind of like She-Hulk, but it's Matt Murdock, where he doesn't even get into the Daredevil suit until the 4th episode.
Yeah, but that was never going to work. I don't know.
But the thing is, they filmed it. They filmed it, and it was the people who greenlit that who are now trying to pivot because they realize that all their plans aren't working. And I'm going to bet that they pivot soft, especially at first. They're going to pivot as lightly as they can and be like, yeah, see, it's R rating. It's still the blood, just like on Netflix, just like in Deadpool 1 and 2. But I'm willing to bet there's going to be something that feels inherently empty about it. And I mean, just a feeling, but we'll wait and see in May or whatever it's coming out.
Yeah, something like that.
In a perfect world, quote unquote, like if they did Deadpool 3, the way my imagination runs wild, it would be neat if they made fun of kind of the more cringier moments of these Disney Plus shows. Like if you just see like Deadpool just like twerking out of nowhere, and that's supposed to like riff on that She-Hulk scene.
I mean, I don't know that I'll find that very funny, to be honest. Like it's just like, well, is this stuff even worth making fun of? Like, is it worth referencing in official material as a thing that even happened? Like, or should we just, try to make a good Deadpool movie where the jokes are less about the MCU and more fourth wall breaking and about our world in a way that's, I mean, they did with the sort of multiverse gag that was in the original Deadpool movie where he says, like, the professor's going to be pissed about this. And he says, McAvoy or Stewart?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So these timelines are confusing.
Yeah,
but no, that's the thing. Like stuff like that can be kind of funny, and if they keep it in the pocket, that's fine. But I think if they start being like, "Hey, man, like Moon Knight just showed up. Remember Moon Knight?" Nobody does. It'll be like, "Oh, well, come on."
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't watch it.
Do you guys even need to be referencing the Disney Plus shows in this movie at all? I think the smart idea is no. Don't pretend they don't exist. Pretend the whole MCU doesn't exist. Just be a Deadpool movie.
But that's the thing too. They could do that. Be like, hey, do you remember this movie from Disney Plus? And like Ryan Reynolds could just look at the camera and goes like, nobody watched it. Just move on. I mean, that would be the best way to do it.
It'll be fine if they do it once, but if he starts like twerking and stuff, I'm gonna be like, okay, you're already giving She-Hulk too much attention.
Okay. How about this? What would your thought be on, be it like a secret part of the plot that just was never revealed, or even just like a post scene where Deadpool kills the MCU?
I mean, honestly, that would be the move if they just use Deadpool 3 as the reboot right now and just have him slaughter everybody. It would kill the MCU quite literally, but it would also, I guess, be kind of a fun way to say sorry for the last phase.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, no, Endgame's where it ended, but yeah, now we had this last phase that culminated in Deadpool immediately killing Kang, and then all of the Avengers, and then himself, and then it cut to black. We can now make new superhero movies.
Mm-hmm. They'll be like, oh, but we like this here. Make sure to keep this part. Just kind of.
I mean, it's the same thing that DC might have a problem with. It's the piecemeal. Oh, we're gonna reboot, but we're gonna kind of keep this guy and this person and that element. And no, man, I think if you're gonna do it clean, you got to go clean and give it time too. I think that the best thing that James Gunn's DC could do is totally cut ties with all of the DCEU that came before it and don't put out Superman Legacy until like 2030.
And that's what he's trying to do. I don't know about 2030, but that's what he's trying to do.
I think it's probably going to be within the next 2 years or so. But I think a good chunk of time without superhero movies every single year, multiple movies every single year, will be better for the genre than if they're still just trying to pump out content regardless of how good it is.
That's what it is now. It's more quality or quantity over quality. You mean the DC?
Yeah,
I mean,
lame.
Like Meteor in the comments was saying, Iron Man 1 and the first Avengers, those were amazing. I mean, because think about it, that was like a whole new concept. Like, oh wait, this movie's going to lead to this movie. It's going to lead to this movie. It's going to lead to an Avengers movie that really hadn't been done before. Now it's just like, oh, how many things can we put out and how many times can we tell the same story?
It's I don't know. It's falling in love with the amount of money you can make with the concept at this point, as opposed to genuinely utilizing a concept for something that you have a vision that you can make well. And I think that the team that we had, like that old dream team of Jon Favreau, Edgar Wright, who was working on the initial concepts for Ant-Man, Joss Whedon, most prominently, I'd say. Because I mean, he's the one that pulled it all together and made the Avengers. And then like all those people are gone now, though. They're all working on other stuff, or Joss Whedon is basically banned from the industry forever for being well, I mean, yeah, it's being a Hollywood director dude, which like, I mean, his biggest problem was getting married, I think. But ultimately, though, he was a great writer, and it kind of sucks to have him not in the industry anymore, especially with the state of modern writing. And I think the biggest thing to realize is that, like, kind of the same with the CEOs things. Like, I feel like the people who are writing a lot of these MCU things are probably not fantastic human beings because they don't seem to understand morality in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I think that was all we really had for this weekend. Mark, I'd like to actually thank you for coming out here with us this time. We definitely have to have you back on. I know it didn't work out a while ago, but it definitely want to have you back on.
Yeah, that was just my schedule getting mixed up. And even this week, I was accidentally looking at the date for Thursday, and I thought that the show was a couple days ago, but then I checked it and it's now. But yeah, I'm like, if I ever flake on someone, it's just because I'm being stupid. It's not because I'm trying to ditch anyone, because I'm pretty easygoing about going on streams. I think that there's this, like, a lot of the time the reaction I get with that is like, a lot of people seem to think I'm like a lot bigger than I am. It's like, oh my God, thank you for coming on our little show. I'm just like, hey guys, if you just want to talk about video games and I'm free, like it's what I do most of the time anyway. So it's
it's still like, like I reach out to like you or like anybody we've had in the past, and it's like, holy shit, they're taking a chance on this nobody like me.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I was a nobody who bigger YouTubers gave a chance on, and now I'm still like a nobody, but I have a monetized channel, and I'm looking to start getting more serious about it. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm still just a guy.
Yeah.
A human being who sits around in my basement playing video games, talking about them on the internet, and cuddling my puppies. That's kind of all I'm about, really.
Yeah, we're hoping to get a lot bigger. I know we Charlie and I have been working on some stuff here, so.
Yep, and there's some things that will hopefully be announced sooner than later.
So,
but yeah, it's the year of growth. This is the year.
Yes. Well, we've only been doing this show for a few months. We're not going to take off, that fast.
Yeah, just keep consistent with it, and you'd be surprised.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, again, thank you, Mark, for coming on to the show. And we are going to be coming back on next week. Not exactly sure what we're doing next week, which probably sounds bad, but
we'll figure it out.
So that's the best way. Figure it out as you go along.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for being here. Yep. Thanks for being here. We'll definitely be in touch to have you back on.
Yep.
Right on.
So, all right. And for everybody who's been watching here, I want to thank you for watching. And remember, haters gonna hate and gamers got a game. All right, guys. Peace out.
That's it. Back to Winnipeg.